Tim Moore from and Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College. Those are your playoff drivers for this season. So congratulations to all of them who made it in. But in 3 weeks' time, we're going to reduce that field of 10 down to 4 drivers. The road to the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway has started, officially underway. And tonight's round number 1 of the playoffs here at Flyover State 200 from Kansas Speedway. But before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the highlights from last week's race, the Southern 200 at Darlington Raceway. Our Muhammad Alif and Ball State University needed a win to make the playoffs, but they came so closely short, almost running out of fuel. Had to pit at the end of the race, which handed the lead to Logan Clampett, who walked away with that victory and his fourth win of the season.
But Zach, it looks like we're about to go green.
Yeah, the pace car has pulled off for the first time tonight. It's Ohio State and Cal State Fullerton. The battle for the regular season championship is underway. Green flag here at Darlington. And we're going to stay green for Logan Clay. Going backstretch one last time for Cal State Fullerton. He made the pass when it counted with laps to go in the race. And it's going to be Logan Clampett out final time. He's going to win the Southern 200 and the cash prize. You can see the points scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You'll notice as soon as he gets down to 10th and lower, there's going to be a huge gap from P11 up to P10. And that's because going into the playoffs, our championship drivers have been reset to 2,000 points apiece, plus the playoff points they've earned over the course of the season. Again, another look at our College Cup Series playoff standings coming into round 1 of the playoffs here at Kansas tonight. And we are actually going to go ahead and talk to our regular season champion, hailing from Ohio State University, Matthew Morton. Congratulations again on the regular season championship. Got a huge sum of points coming into the playoffs that's put you in the first position up there at the top of the leaderboard. But all of that can go away very quickly, but you can gain it very quickly as well. Playoff drivers, if they win in this playoff round, they're going to automatically qualify for Homestead to be a part of the championship 4. What would that mean for you tonight to win tonight's race at Kansas?
That'd mean a lot, obviously securing that playoff spot in the championship 4. It'd be awesome to bring home a championship for Ohio State. And winning here in Kansas, you wouldn't really have to stress about Talladega or Michigan, so you get that extra time to prep and look forward to the championship. So a win here at Kansas would definitely take a lot of stress.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the things I was going to ask you there. That was, especially with Kansas being the only mile-and-a-half track left in the in this playoff round. You followed up with Talladega and Michigan, a wild card track, and then a pseudo wild card track there in Michigan. How critical is it to get the good run here tonight, where it's definitely going to be the most who can drive the track before you get to something like Talladega and just try and roll the dice and survive?
I'm not really too sure about that. Obviously a good finish here would be awesome, but I feel like in my situation, coming off the regular season championship, I have a little bit of a points cushion, but that's to say it can just go away in just one race here. So obviously doing good here would just help the playoff run even more, but I feel like I don't have to stress as much as some of the other guys coming off the points cushion from the regular season championship.
Well, Matthew, 2 wins this season in the Next Gen Cup Series. You had 3 wins over the summer in our Throwback Cup Series in the Gen 4, but couldn't get the job done to win the title there. Do you feel like this is a bit of a retribution for you? Like this is your year, this is your season to make it happen?
I don't know. Obviously, again, I'd like to get a championship for the Scarlet and Gray, but I didn't really get to race that much in the playoffs over the summer, so I obviously would like to get that championship back, I feel like, but no, I mean, just coming out here in the playoffs again, I just want to have a nice introduction in the series, have a smooth playoff run, and hopefully make the championship.
Always hopeful, and we wish you the best of luck tonight at Kansas, and hopefully we will see you in the booth after the race. Best of luck out there, man.
Thank you, guys. Go Bucks.
Now, that was our regular season champion for the fall 2023 season, Matt Morton from Ohio State University. And you heard him. He said he wants that championship this time around. He wants to bring that title home for that Buckeye Gaming Collective, Ohio State University. He's got a lot of teammates out in the field as well. I know Duncan O'Connor, a playoff contender as well. So some championship rivalries brewing within that organization.
Yeah, there definitely is. But I think the other thing that I'm going to take away from that quick conversation we had with Morton there, he's definitely not going to try and rush things here tonight at Kansas. He knows he's coming in with, looking over fourth in the fifth place. He's got about a 10-point advantage coming into this race, which isn't a huge gap. But with how consistently he's been running this year, he may not have to gun it to get from like fourth to third or third to second. He has that little bit of wiggle room that some of these guys, like a Jake Cummings or a Tim Moore or a Duncan O'Connor, can't necessarily afford. We'll see some of those cars maybe being a bit more willing to take risks out here, but Morton doesn't have to put himself in a position where he needs to. And I think that's going to suit his driving style really well, because he seems to be at his best when he can let the race kind of come to him. And I think that's how he's picked up several of his wins so far this season.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the more patient drivers in the field. He's not going to be the one to force an issue with the driver either ahead of him or behind him. He's going to let the race come to him. He's one of the better drivers in the field when it comes to managing resources with tires and fuel and strategy. He just always seems to be in that top 5, top 6 zone throughout the entire race. And then when it comes down to it, he's always in it for the fight for the lead at the end. I mean, even last week, he was up in the top 5 for pretty much every single lap that race, except for the pit cycles. But he only finished a few seconds behind Logan Clampett. So
yeah, he put together a really nice run at Darlington.
Mm-hmm. Great runs all season, and we're looking forward to seeing him do well, as well as our other playoff drivers in the field as we're going to get ready for tonight's event. You know what? Let's go ahead and make some predictions.
Oh, all right.
Who is going to be the champion? Who are going to be the 4 drivers going to Homestead to race for a title? I'm going to let you go first, Alex.
All right. My 4 drivers that I would pick. I think our regular season champ, Matt Morton, has a really good shot to get there. I think our leader in race wins so far this season, Logan Clampett's got a really good thing going at the moment. I think the 2 of them would be pretty safe bets as they run. I think we could see Matt O'Brien in there as a little alumni representation in the Final 4. I really like the way that MTU machine's been running over the past few weeks, and I think he could make his way in. And then this is going to be a bit of an off-the-board pick, but when it comes to Talladega, anything can happen. And I don't know what it is, but something about the way the 34 of Duncan O'Connor has been running over the past few weeks, something tells me that Nova Scotia Community College machine could find its way into the Championship 4. It's just been that car's been so good the past few weeks, and it just needs a little break here or there. He nearly got it a few weeks ago. Wasn't meant to be there at Vegas, but either way, I think he could be an interesting pick. So those are going to be my 4 that I think could make it.
Talladega, of course, such a wild card race. You have as equal of a chance of winning as you do crashing out. Anybody can win that race, but you got to finish the race in the first place to even have a shot. And I think that's actually not going to play into the favor of our playoff drivers. I think we're going to have 2 non-playoff drivers win a race in the playoffs. The drivers who lock themselves in are going to be Logan Clampett and Matthew Morton. And then I think we're going to see Chattahoochee Tech's Drew Jawa make it in. And I think I really want to put my faith in Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte. He's been silently consistent in the races that he's done well in. He seems to be in the top 5, top 6, battling for position until he gets wrecked out or something happens and he has a problem on pit road. But if he can hammer out these little consistency issues and he can put together a good string of runs here in the playoffs, I think he makes it in.
Hey,
So,
you know what?
Not
A bad 4 either, but all 10 of these guys are here for a reason. So even if, you're, Drew Williams or Tim Robb or Jake Cummings or Tim Moore, all of these guys have made the playoff 10 for a reason. And I would not be shocked if any of them advance. So we're just kind of throwing names out into the ether. It really does feel like it's Morton and Clampett who have been the most consistent this year who could make it. And then after that, it's take 2 out of the hat of the 8 to see who's also going to make it to Miami. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, I look at this list of playoff drivers and I don't see any names that I think, man, they made it in. Every single one of these top 10 drivers has proven that they are one of the 10 best drivers in the league. They race by it. There's phenomenal talent. There's phenomenal talent in this league, and I'm excited to see this playoff round as it gets started tonight from Kansas Speedway. We're going to take a quick break before race action. The drivers are about to take the track for qualifying, and when we come back, we're going to get started with tonight's Flyover State 200 from Kansas Speedway, round 1 in the playoffs. We'll see you guys in 5.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League College Cup Series. I'm your host for tonight, Zach Lindler, alongside Alex Gagnon in the booth as usual. And tonight, the fall 2023 season playoffs are going to kick off with our Flyover State 200 from Kansas Speedway. The most exciting, most intense, and closest College Cup Series season is about to get even more exciting as our playoff drivers have taken the first step of many towards grabbing the championship trophy for both driver and school, and the road to Homestead starts tonight. The regular season champion, Ohio State's Matthew Morton, Chattahoochee Tech's Drew Jawa, Michigan Tech's Matt O'Brien, Manhattanville's Tim Moore, Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampett, Nova Scotia Community College's Duncan O'Connor, Clemson University's Drew Williams, UNC Charlotte's Clint Halterman, Wingate University's Jake Cummings, and American University's Tim Robb. 10 different drivers, 10 different schools, the best the CIL has to offer, and a win for one of these drivers will lock them into the championship race at Homestead. 3 races to decide who makes the championship 4, and it all starts tonight at Kansas. 200 miles to see if we'll have the first of our championship 4 drivers. And Alex, I am extremely excited for tonight's race.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, Kansas is going to be such a fun opportunity for these drivers because I think for a lot of them, they know that this is the one they can control their own destiny the most at. The other 2 playoff tracks being Talladega and Michigan. So Kansas really is going to be the go-to opportunity for cars who know how to manage their tires, manage the fuel strategy as this race progresses. And those are the drivers we're going to see out front the majority of the day here, I think. So it's going to be a really good test of skill, but also a really good test of pit strategy if this stays green to see who's willing to take the chance to pick up victories here. I mean, we've seen a couple of really good pit strategy races so far over the past couple of weeks. Sometimes they've worked out, and sometimes, like last week, you come up just short, and that becomes the drama when you deal with alternating fuel strategies here in this College Cup Series. So we'll have to see how this one plays out tonight, but I have a feeling we're going to be in for a real barn burner.
Yeah, Kansas, of course, one of the last mile-and-a-half track left in the season. As we start the playoff round here at Kansas, we'll move on to Talladega next week, and then Michigan after that, and then Homestead Miami Speedway for our championship race. A look at the Speedway from above, courtesy of our producer, Christian. You can see a mile-and-a-half D oval. Very steeply banked corners, a concrete surface, I believe, here at Kansas, or just very old asphalt, take your pick. But this track is infamous for chewing up tires. The drivers are going to have to be very, very careful about managing tires over the course of the race. It's also a very, very fun track. This is one of the more popular tracks on the schedule. The drivers have constantly requested in between seasons that it returns to the calendar, and we get one more go at it this season. And this is it's put on some great shows in the past, and I don't think tonight will be any exception.
No, I don't think it's going to be any exception at all. I think we're going to be in for a real treat here tonight. I've already been hearing some words from the drivers as their qualifying efforts are going underway at the moment. A couple of drivers have already been noticing that even on the qualifying laps, if your tires are not up to temp, it is so easy to overdrive some of these corners. You know, you feel like you get a really good run into it, and then you just get on the throttle a little too quickly, and then car is not going to agree with you on these cold tires with how high that banking is. So it's really for the first couple laps, it'll be a little touch and go, and then once those tires settle in, I think you're going to see a lot of really interesting choices, whether people decide to run the apron, run up high, try finding somewhere in the middle. I think there's going to be a couple of different grooves that'll work for people depending on how healthy their tires are at that point.
A multi-groove track indeed. It's strategy that you could compare to the likes of Auto Club and Michigan and even Charlotte. You'll find that a lot of drivers on new tires will prefer to try and run that inside line the quickest and shortest way around the track, but when the tires fall off, you'll see some drivers drift up to the middle or even the top of the track to try and use some of that progressive banking in the corners to their advantage to keep their tires fresh.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the name of the game here tonight. Kansas historically in the CIL has given us some really long green flag runs. I think back to that summer race we had there where it was very much the case. So you really got to make sure you're careful of them. You don't want to burn them up too much when you're battling for people on these restarts, because if this stays green, you're going to be in a world of hurt by the time those tires get 30 laps old and longer. So It's going to be a struggle, I think, for some of these drivers who may have been practicing a lot of their short run speed, but maybe not their long run speed.
Yeah, the tires can and will last for a little bit when they're new, about 10, 15 laps or so. But after you hit 15 laps in that tire run, the quality is going to go straight like that. Going to go way down, and the lap times are going to start falling off. And if you haven't saved your tires enough, you are going to be in trouble, like you said. So pit strategy is going to be relatively important. I think these drivers can make it about 50, 60 laps on a set of tires. So this is going to be, hopefully, if everything goes green, we can see some drivers trying a one-stop race in this 133-lap race. But I think this is realistically going to be a two-stopper, stopping at about the 50 and the 100 to make it to the end.
Yeah, more than likely that'll end up being the case. Maybe a wee bit shorter if you're looking to split it up evenly over 3 chunks. But when it comes to trying to do that one-stop strategy, it may be possible, but it's not going to be fast. And the only speed you'll gain is from not coming down pit road a second time. But the overall speed is just going to plummet when you have multiple stints of 60-lap-old tires. But as qualifying starting to wrap up here, let's take a look and see what it's like running the couple laps here around Kansas Speedway. We'll go on board with one of our drivers and get behind the wheel and see what it's like here in Kansas.
Going to ride on board with one of our playoff drivers, Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech. They're going to look at his qualifying laps here very shortly. You can see very high entry into turn 1. He's actually running the top, so maybe the driver's finding some speed, getting as close to that outside wall as they possibly can, using that banking coming down off of turn 2, getting a good fast run down the backstretch into turn 3 as late on the brakes as possible, if you're even braking at all on these newer tires. When they get up to temps, staying up on that very high groove, getting as close to the wall as possible, and then using the apron down the front stretch. There are no track limits on the straightaways here at Kansas. You'll see a lot of drivers, especially on restarts, using that apron to going down the front stretch to make that front stretch as short as possible.
Yeah, he certainly did there, and Matt O'Brien threw down an absolute heater from the sounds of things, and very necessary given that he is in the thick of things here in the playoffs. Currently outside of that top 4 though, coming into this race at Kansas, so a strong run here would go a long way for that Michigan Tech driver tonight.
Qualifying and warm-up have come to an end, so we're going to take a look at tonight's starting lineup for our Flyover State 200.
Rolling off on that front row, it's going to be Zach DeWale of St. Clair College, rolling off alongside Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech. That was the car we were on board with earlier. Row 2 looks to be Jacob Wiest of UNC Charlotte, rolling up alongside R. Muhammad Alif of Ball State. Row 3, a little further on back, looks to be Jake Cummings on the outside. And I can't tell who that is on the inside, actually, from this distance as they're starting to roll away here. It does appear to be one of the Ball State drivers.
Muhammad Alif.
Muhammad Alif rolling off in 5th there.
Yeah, 6th place is going to go to Jake Cummings on the grid. Tim Robb from American University, another playoff driver, will start in 7th. See if we can get to catch up. There you go. Tim Robb, Clint Halterman in row number 4. Row number 5. It's going to go to Tim Moore from Manhattanville College, playoff driver. Jason Wallet to his outside from Drexel University.
Yeah, Kelton Quick and Andrew Stagey, a couple of Ball State teammates there, rolling off in row 6. A little farther on back in row 7, you've got Matt Morton and Brandon Schulenberger, Drew Williams and Michael Sidor there in row 8.
Actually, Charles Wembley qualified on row 8, but he was given an end-of-line penalty to start this race as we are about to get green flag racing here at Kansas. The pace car has made the hard left turn onto pit road. Our pole sitter, Zach DeWale, approaches the Geico restart zone. He hits the gas, and we are playoff racing at Kansas.
Here they go in the turn one to Wales, able to hold serve here on that inside line. He had Jake Weist all over the back of him, though. That 600 from UNC Charlotte looking to the inside of Matt O'Brien as there's a big crash behind him. A number of cars involved there. Looks like Tristan Leclerc is directly in front of the camera. Major Monsivice potentially involved as well for Texas A&M International. Looks like a Penn College Technology car slow to get going as well. A number of cars collected early in that one. Don't believe it was any of our playoff drivers right off the bat, but we will have to confirm that with the replay.
And the only driver I see that might have been at risk was Drew Jawa running there at 24th, but Jason Wallet. Major Monsivice, Tristan Leclerc, Austin DeLong, Michael Sidor as well. 2 PCT cars involved in that lap 1 crash. We're going to work to get you all a replay very quickly, but I do want to draw attention to a change that we've made for this race. If you look on the timing tower to the left-hand side of your screen, all the drivers that are highlighted in yellow are playoff drivers fighting for a spot in the Championship 4. If one of those drivers wins tonight's race, they will automatically be going to Homestead to fight for a title.
Yeah, and that's going to be so critical, because if you can pick up the win here tonight and lock yourself in right out the gate, you don't have to have any stress going into Talladega or Michigan, which will be a huge sigh of relief, especially for Dega, as far as just how those races tend to go. So already a lot of pressure here just in the first round of this playoff round, the first race of this playoff round. This could be a huge opportunity to take a lot of pressure off before the chaos really gets going.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with winning tonight, especially if you're a playoff driver, is you don't have to worry about Talladega next week. That's a bit of a kind of a brain sore for these drivers. They've been dreading this race next week. They really, really want to not have to worry about Talladega, because one bad finish here in the playoffs might mean that your championship run is over.
Yeah, it certainly could. Let's take a look at this replay and see what happened here on this lap 1 crash that collected quite a number of cars.
So here, this is coming off the restart. We're 3 wide going into turn 1. And you can see the 3 of Drew Jawa actually made contact with the 15 of Sidor hard into the wall.
Collected into that. And a number of cars involved. I see the 65 of Klingensmith. Spencer Brown may be involved in there as well. I mean, obviously, Sidor got turned around like a Beyblade. That car was really spinning. But this is the onboard here with the 02 of Jonathan Egge from Robert Morris. This happens directly in front of him.
Oh, goodness.
Geez, heavy contact there for Sidor into that outside wall. He goes up above Godinez and then tries just splitting the traffic there. He actually just gets around his teammate there in Klingensmith and able to keep going. It does look like Drew Jawa, despite being in the initial point of contact there with Sidor, looks like that playoff driver is going to be able to get out of there relatively unscathed.
Yeah, his car looked relatively fine based off that onboard that we just saw. But I'm wondering if maybe JY had some internet issues, because you saw the contact made with the 15, possibly netcode, and then that 3 car blinked out of existence and then right back in as the contact happened. So they can possibly blame the iRacing internet gods for that incident.
It's definitely possible, and one of the biggest differences between iRacing and the real World Cup Series, is you don't typically have cars blipping in and out of existence on NASCAR Sundays. So, but when you're rolling an iRacing, it's definitely a thing that could happen. We saw that the Drew Jawa machine there kind of bounced in and out a little bit. So hopefully that'll calm down, because it's also really tough to be driving next to a car if they're blipping in and out of being on the track, because you don't know where they are at any given point in time. It's quite scary.
Oh, it's unbelievably terrifying.
At least it was here as opposed to the at Talladega.
Yeah,
bad connection at Talladega is a death sentence for the entire field.
Oh gosh.
I think we had that was a while back, and I think the stewards actually just said, "All right, now you got to park the car." I mean, we're 1 second away from this being catastrophe for everybody.
And speaking of the stewards, race control has deemed that the contact was caused by netcode. So neither driver there assessed fault for that incident. But it looks like the field's going to get...
I was going to say, it's also worth noting, it seems Drew Jawah has blamed his internet issues on his cat.
Oh, gosh, that's the worst.
So hopefully everything's all right over there. But yes, to your point that I so rudely interrupted, we are just about getting ready to go for the restart.
Yeah, if anyone's looking for a new pet cat, check Drew Jawah's Facebook. There might be one up for adoption. But yeah, the field's going to get stacked up 2 by 2 behind the pace car. As you see it make that hard left turn onto pit road. Zach DeWale still the control car. Matt O'Brien to his outside as they're going to hit the Geico restart zone. Barney with the green flag in the air. We're back to racing here at Kansas.
Zach DeWale's gotten off a good lunch here the past couple of restarts. O'Brien trying to battle along with Jake Wiest on the inside there. That's the battle for second with Alif and Tim Robb sitting just behind them. Almost 3 wide, a little farther on back, but things starting to settle down a little bit. Jack there, back to only 2 wide. But back up front here, this is the battle between Matt O'Brien and Jacob Wiest, UNC Charlotte and Michigan Tech. Big slide down to the apron there from O'Brien trying to take away the lane. He'll hold on the second, and they might be 2 or 3 wide going in the 1.
Almost contact between the 5 of Tim Robb and the 12 of Muhammad Alif. That battle for the 4th position heating up down the front stretch, but they're going to keep it straight going through 1 and 2 as the battles inside the top 10 still rage on. If you see on the left-hand side of your ticker, we've got 5 playoff drivers in the top 10 in the very early stages of this race. And look at that hornet's nest. 3 wide towards the back of the top 10 coming out of turn 4, as it looks like the leaders are going to go single file for the time being. Maybe not quite yet. Still some battles inside the top 10. These guys are putting everything on the line as Tim Robb, really out of sorts, coming out of turn 2, got loose, lost some momentum, but he can thank Jake Cummings for that tap to the back of the bumper to get him going, as they're going to still single file through turns 3 and 4. Still some action towards the back. That's, I believe, Matt Morton and Matt Morton and Drew Williams going at it for the 12th position at the moment.
Yeah, there's a whole bundle of those playoff drivers sitting between 9th and 13th right now. We're looking a little farther up with, now back into that mix. You see Clint Halterman, Drew Williams, Tim Moore, Matt Morton also into that mix. Clint Halterman currently falling back a little bit here. He qualified up in 8th, but now he's fallen back outside of the top 10. So a little bit of struggles here early for the 07 machine, but he's with good company right now, and Tim Moore and Drew Williams, all 3 of those cars playoff drivers, is Drew Jawah in the grass. Brings it back onto the apron. He's able to catch it, but he's going to lose a lot of momentum there going into 1. I'm not sure what happened to the Chattahoochee Tech car there, but he was doing a little bit of landscaping going down the front stretch here on lap 10.
Wonder if he maybe had some help coming out of turn 4.
It's certainly possible. It's very easy to misjudge your speed coming out of these corners. That wall, much like it does at Darlington, can kind of just jump out at you when you're not expecting it. So definitely a possibility. But back up on screen here, you see a lot of our playoff drivers. That is Tim Moore and Clint Haltman, and Matt Morton just behind him, who's now being put 3 wide by Matt Nordberg on the outside. NC State, the Wolfpack versus the Buckeyes here, going down the backstretch. Here goes Nordberg on the high side going into the corner. He's going to be able to hold on to the position momentarily, and that 076 is riding that top line with great effect right now.
Yeah, that top line is showing some speed right now in the early stages of this race, as Nordberg able to rocket by the 07 of Halterman, but Halterman claws it back down the front stretch. And look at that pace differential, how much faster that high line is through the corners.
Yeah, you got to imagine that people are going to start taking notice of that and trying to take away that line. We saw Tim Moore try and go high, but Nordberg just goes low. That Wolfpack machine is a rocket ship right now. He has launched himself to just outside the top 10, currently running 11th. But he's picked off 3 playoff cars in the matter of 2 laps.
Good to see Nordberg finally putting together a good run for the time being. He's been a really good driver all season, but just always seems to get caught up in incidents and has never been able to put up a good finish yet this season. So hoping that momentum gets on his side here, and that Wolfpack machine he's established himself pretty well up here at the front of the field, fighting with a lot of these playoff drivers. Maybe to the playoff drivers' disdain. They want these non-playoff drivers to get out of the way and get behind them so that they can fight for this win. The lead currently being held by Zach DeWale, who's led every single lap thus far. On lap 14 of 133, Muhammad Alif has jumped up quite a few positions. He restarted 6th and is now up to 3rd, battling with Tim Robb, as Tim Robb now gets a bumper ahead. You can see on the left side of your screen for that 2nd position. And there's the battle. Muhammad Alif for that Ball State team just barely missed out on the playoffs last week. He's got the run on Robb. It is going to put about a car and a half between him and that American University machine, but only momentarily, as Tim Robb gets a great entry into turns 1 and 2, but both of them slow relative to the 600 of Jake Wiest. That UNC Charlotte machine coming to life here on lap 15.
Yeah, and I think one reason that's particularly notable is that Jacob Wiest is having himself a really good run so far. He's currently top 10 in those alumni standings. Hasn't necessarily been the best season for him, but we know when that car is dialed in, he can run with the best of them, and that's what he's doing right now. He's within striking distance of the podium here. He's on the back bumper of Tim Robb, as now Robb's looking to make the move on the back bumper of Alif as they go down the backstretch. That American University machine all the way up to the back bumper, almost making contact in the corner entry. They're all taking that high line, though, so everyone just trying to get around the corner as fast as possible here. Robb looking to the inside. Maybe Alif's going to close it off, though, going down the front stretch.
One thing these drivers have to keep in the back of their minds is, how are my tires? How much of my tires am I using up battling for these positions early in the race? And how is that going to affect me in about 30, 35 laps or so? 17 laps into this run, opening stint to start the race, as Tim Robb dives underneath the 12 of Alif. He's decided he's going to check out that inside line. Doesn't quite work for him, as Alif is going to clear Robb coming down the front stretch.
Yeah, Alif will hold on to 2nd as they run. Tim Robb, the highest running playoff driver as they run, with Wiest and Cummings rounding out the top 5. But really, it's a pretty close chain all the way from Alif back to Matt O'Brien in 8th, who's plummeted after starting off the front row. But, 2nd through 8th right now, they're all separated by less than a second. Is a little farther back, there seems to be some good battling between Wallet and O'Brien. The battle for 7th as O'Brien took that away from the Drexel University driver. But everyone in the top 10 right now not really letting each other get away just yet.
It's still very close here in the opening stages of this race. As we get a bit of a lull in the action, you're riding on board with Tim Robb. That helmet cam, Kyle Larson inspired fire suit and helmet inside that American University machine. He's looking to make his way up towards the front. He, like you said, Alex, top running playoff driver. We went from 5 to 4 in the top 10. Most of our playoff drivers are in the top 15 as well. But a couple outside the top 20, Drew Jawa, a couple of incidents to start the race, made contact with Michael Sayador on the very first corner, which possibly caused some damage to his car, and then took a wild ride through the grass. A few laps later, that's put him back down in 22nd. And Duncan O'Connor, not a very good qualifying result for that Nova Scotia Community College car, as he finds himself back in the 26th position at the moment.
Yeah, but it's worth noting that 34 is on the way forward. At the restart, he was scored back in 32nd, sorry. So he is up 6 positions from where he restarted, but obviously when you're that far back into the field, you've got plenty of work to do. So right now, Nova Scotia Community College trying to work their way past the Guilford College machine of Charles Wimbley and Major Monsivice from Texas A&M International. So still a lot of work to do there if you're that driver. One thing that's also worth noting, Matt Morton, the Ohio State driver, just barely hanging inside the top 20 right now. He's run super well all season, but now currently scored back in the 18th position, now make it 17th as he gets around Schulenberger. But he is definitely not running the way we've seen that 13 run throughout most of the season so far.
Yeah, an off night possibly for Morton, or is it just resource management right now? Is he's biding his time, maybe not running as quickly and being as hard on the tires as some of these other drivers? So it'll be interesting to see what his pace looks like in about 20 laps. A couple laps ago, we saw the 5 of Tim Robb get into the wall, get back in a battle with Jake Cummings and Jake Wiest for that 3rd position. But here's the battle on track right now. The 28 of Kelton Quick into the wall. That's going to let Nick Stockner get to the back of the 13 of Matt Morton. That Clemson car going to go around the outside, possibly into turn 3, side by side. Clemson, Ohio State, where have we seen this before? And it gone horribly for both teams in college football playoffs. Stockner is going to walk away with that position for the time being. No, not so fast, says the Ohio State University driver, as he's going to get back to the inside. But Stockner using that outside line to his advantage, the quicker way around the track right now, and he's going to walk away with that position as he's now become the leader of a huge pack of cars there just inside the top 20.
Yeah, meanwhile, back up front on the top side of your screen, the Michigan Tech car of Matt O'Brien beginning the rally. He fell back as far as 8th. Now he's battling with Tim Robb and Jacob Weiss for the 4th and 5th position. That 043 on the inside is starting to come back to life here as this run's extended. Maybe he's been holding on to his tires a little bit better than a couple of these other cars as Weiss gives a shot to Tim Robb going into turn 3. Robb did not get a good exit, and Weiss let him know and punted him down the backstretch. But back down below, Matt Morton is having his hands full right now with Nick Stockner. He has not been able to get away from the 124.
Yeah, Matt Morton now able to lead that pack as a contact. That is the
100 to Colin Kolpa.
100, that's Kolpa. That's our alumni championship, our last season's alumni champion, Colin Kolpa from Indiana University, making contact with another driver. I'm not quite sure who it was. Kelton Quick. Both of those drivers taking a nice little detour through the infield, doing some landscaping, but able to get back on track relatively unscathed. Good to see that neither of those drivers involved in a very serious incident there.
Yeah, meanwhile, back up front here, as this somehow did not bring out the caution, the front pack has found themselves. I mean, you look at the time differential here between O'Brien and 4th, and then all the way back inside the top 10, it's less than 0.3 of a second, basically. You've got everyone stacked on top of each other. Couple of names that you don't see too often in the top 10 as well. Lucas Moody currently running 7th for Ball State. He's having a great run so far in the early going. And Matt Nordberg now takes away 8th almost yet. Oh, no, not yet. He's in a three-way battle there with Tim Moore and Jason Wallet. But Matt Nordberg has been having a really strong run to the start of this race as well. That NC State machine slowly continuing its charge toward the front. It's been an absolute war up here inside the top 10 right now.
Yeah, it may look relatively calm, but these drivers are thinking every single corner, how do I attack? How do I defend? How do I get close to the guy in front of me? And when I do, what am I going to do to pass him? These drivers thinking and firing on all cylinders tonight with so much on the line, especially for these playoff drivers. Jake Cummings with a big lead over Matt O'Brien over Tim Robb. Tim Robb involved in that battle that you see there on the screen is they've got a little something extra they're fighting for tonight.
That they do, and you look just a little farther back, you've got Andrew Stagey and Athena Leclerc getting into the mix as well. So this party's certainly not over. It's just changed where who everyone is involved. As you see Stagey diving way down to the apron, trying to get to the inside of Leclerc here going into one. Nordberg on the inside of Wallet, 2x2 as they run through the corner. The 076 and the 76 there of NC State and Drexel in the battle for 9th. I mean, this is really furious racing up all throughout the top 10 right now. And as all this has happened, the car that has now taken over control of the playoff cars lead has been Jake Cummings. Cummings has moved up into the 3rd position. He's very slowly but very steadily put himself in a really good position here over O'Brien, Rob Moore, and the like. But look at this. Everyone fighting for the same square footage of track here. You got Lucas Moody with an army behind him of Wallet, Nordberg, Leclerc, Stagey, and Drew Williams. Drew Williams is, I think, almost marred back in traffic a little bit. He's trying to find his way forward, but, I mean, where do you go through this mix?
That's a really good question. That's why these guys are in the cockpit and I'm not. You can see the determination and the focus on the bottom right hand of your screen. I believe that is an in-car, literal in-car camera of Matt O'Brien for Michigan Tech. As you can see the focus on his eyes, I don't think he has blinked the entire time that we've had him on screen. But yeah, you gotta, it's all in the reaction. It's all in the thinking. processing where the cars in front of you are, where the runs are coming, balancing that with where the quick lines are, managing tires. It's so much mental work that these drivers have to do out on track. It's a lot, and it goes to show you that the drivers who made the playoffs this year truly are the best of the best.
Yeah, but not to be remiss are some of these drivers who may have missed it, but are putting together really good runs. I mean, half the top 10 right now are non-playoff drivers. Some of them were really close, but just missed out, like Muhammad Ali for Jason Watt. But some of them, like a Jacob Weister or Thien Leclerc, maybe a little bit rougher of a season, but are able to bring it together now and put together a really strong run. Zach DeWale, I mean, he's checked out from the moment the green flag dropped. No one's had anything for him so far through the opening 34 laps. I mean, that 027 machine is in cruise control right now.
Yeah, St. Clair College having a really good day today. 2 drivers right now in the top 10 and another in the hunt, at least in the pack to try and get in the top 10. Zach DeWale leading the race right now. Athena Leclerc is actually
hard hit for Stagey.
Stagey got really hard into the wall there. You can see that number 21 machine of Lucas Moody leading that little pack right now. Under fire from Matt Morton. But yeah, that was a pretty huge lick for Kelton Quick and Ball State.
Making it 3 wide going through the corner. He'll pick off both Halterman and Kelton Quick Lucas Moody. That is the 13 of Ohio State starting to come back to life here. He takes away the 12th position there from Halterman. Now closing on to the back bumper of Matt Nordberg. Now looking to the inside here as he goes down the front stretch. All of a sudden, on the long run here, that 13 has come to life as he looks to battle his way back inside the top 10.
Riding on board with him right now, and he's got the dorm room set up, all fired up and firing on all cylinders tonight as that 13 machine's going to come back to life. Like you said, maybe in the back of his mind, he's thinking we've got about 10 laps until that pit window opens, so I want to try and get myself up as high in the field as I can before these pit stops start happening. Gosh, try saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah, it's quite the tongue twister you settled on there talking about that. I don't envy you for that one bit. But Matt Morton here closing into the back bumper of Jason Wallet. This would put him back inside the top 10. And then it would get him that much closer to a lot of cars he's battling with here in the playoffs. Williams, Robin, Moore, all right in that mix as well. So it's quite the freight train on the back end of the top 10. Everyone shuffling, trying to find position, and in a few laps, to your point, might be fighting for track position higher or lower on the track to make green flag pit stops easier. I mean, it's definitely going to be a situation where if you're going at full speed, you can't make that stop if you're running high like a lot of these cars have been doing so far. So you need to make sure everyone's aware you're getting down and slowing up, trying to get on pit road. Kansas is not the hardest pit road to get onto, but at full speed, it's not easy.
Yeah, there's no such thing as an easy pit road to get onto. He's riding on board with Drew Williams now for that Clemson University driver. You can see he's actually got a fancy new setup. He got paid pretty well a couple months ago, decided to spend it on a new setup, and it's serving him quite well here this season. Got some fancy new equipment for that Clemson driver. But yeah,
I'm really digging the power strip just stapled to the wall, or however that's attached. I guess command stripped. I mean, it looks like someone just said, don't know where to put this, and just like duct taped it to the side and said, all right, we're good to go. So, for as many things can get upgraded, some things stay the same, and dorm room driving will always remain dorm room driving.
It ain't got to look pretty. It's just got to work. And for Williams, it certainly has worked all season. But going back to those pit stops, something you got to be thinking about on top of your own stop is where is everybody else stopping as well.
Yeah.
We're a little too early in the race to try and make some undercut, overcut strategy predictions. So we're going to see drivers come down pit road pretty much all at once within a few laps of each other. But it's definitely going to shake up the field because you got to have a good pit stop, good entry, nail your marks, getting onto pit road, stop perfectly in your box, and then get out as quickly as you can without getting a speeding violation, because those pit road speeding penalties, as has been proved earlier this year, can be lethal.
Yeah, it absolutely can, especially in a race where, it's realistically expected that you might only come down pit road twice. Messing up one of those opportunities is going to be a real killer, so you really don't want to do it. If you are going to do it, I guess the first one would be better than the second one, but even still, there may not be enough time to undo that kind of damage. But speaking of undoing some damage, that 13, man, he's just about knocking on the door of the top 5. Matt Morton on the back bumper now of Tim Moore. He is really woken up in a hurry. He was as low down as 18th during this run, but he has come back on late, and he is really starting to get that thing in gear. As a little farther back, you see Halterman, Wallet, Tim Robb, and Matt Nordberg all battling each other. This is happening just outside the top 10. I mean, there are still cars just shuffling all over this track in the corner, some running low, some running high. Even now, as old as these tires are, everyone's still trying to find that line that works best for them.
As we might be 3 wide almost going into turn 3. Jason Wallet on the bottom. Matt Nordberg tried to think about going to the middle underneath Tim Robb, as those two were going to be side by side coming out of turn 4. And Nordberg's going to get the advantage there, but this is the battle for the last spot in the top 10, currently being held by UNC Charlotte and Clint Halterman. UNC Charlotte having another good night tonight. Jake Wiest and Clint Halterman both inside the top 10 here, as we're just over a quarter of the way through the race.
Yeah, a couple of pairs of teammates you see up there in the top 10. You see Zach Dewell, Athena Leclerc running 1st and 9th right now. You also see Jacob Wiest, Clint Halterman running 8th and 10th. So St. Clair and UNC Charlotte, a couple of longtime staples of the CIL, really putting together a strong run at Kansas in the early goings. But even still, I mean, a lot of these drivers who we're starting to see make their way up front now are those drivers we talked about at the top of the show, Zach. They're those drivers who can kind of maintain those tires, maintain that strategy throughout a very long run, as we thought we might see here at Kansas. And those are really starting to come to fruition here. Jake Cummings, obviously, being the chief among them here and the playoff drivers. I mean, he's been running really, really well to this point. As Tim Robb bringing it down pit road, he'll be the first playoff driver to take it down. Maybe a little too fast coming down pit road. We'll have to see. Rob, I always regard as one of the better short-run racers in this series, maybe one of the best short-run racers in this series. But whenever we get one of those extended ones, it always feels like that 5 car has just a little less tire than everyone else. So not overly surprised that we see American University kicking off the pit cycle here, along with, I believe that is Jacob Wiest.
See the 21 of Lucas Moody coming down as well to get his service, and the pit window is officially open. Pit stops, green flag, pit stops are underway, as all those cars going to get off of pit road relatively clean, although we're going to check and see if Tim Robb might have gotten a speeding penalty coming in. He had that thing completely locked up, trying to get it slowed down to get onto pit road. As we're going to see who else comes in.
As well.
Yeah, I see that Charlotte car stopped in his box as well. Everybody else going to stay out for another lap, though, so it'll be interesting to see the pace differential between the drivers who are staying out and the ones with fresh tires. As I look up towards the front of the field, Zach DeWale has completely checked out from Muhammad Alif. That gap has grown by about 2 seconds over the last 10 laps or so.
Yeah, the wheels are starting to fall off the bus there, the Ball State machine, relative to Zach DeWale, although compared to everybody, Zach DeWale's been in another zip code for most of this race so far. That 027 has been tuned up and is really setting the pace here. It's about to eclipse 4 seconds potentially within the next lap or two, so right now, there's not going to be any sort of setup change they want to make to that car. I'm sure they're just going to let him keep rolling until he has to bring it down pit road, because that 027 is absolutely cooking right now.
And I want to highlight, look at the level of talent that's in the top 10 right now. You've got half the playoff grid in the top 10. Jake Cummings, Matt Morton, O'Brien, Tim Moore, Drew Williams as well. Our 2 front runners right now, Zach DeWale, Muhammad Alif, made the playoffs last time around. Zach DeWale in the playoffs in the spring and in the summer. Muhammad Alif almost made the playoffs this fall, was about 5 laps from doing so. Athena Leclerc has always been quick here in the Cup Series. Jason Wallet, last season's Daytona 250 champ. And Matt Nordberg, who's got an absolute rocket of a machine tonight. Amazing, incredible talent in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, everyone in this top 10, to my knowledge, has either won or at least podiumed a College Cup Series race here in the CIL. So a lot of talent to be be reckoned with. And that was even, before the pit cycle began. I mean, we're talking guys like Tim Robb, Clint Halterman. You can't miss out on those guys as well. I mean, they've both won races here in the CIL too. So a lot of talent spread throughout this field, and we're seeing it on full display here tonight. But after the initial couple takers on pit road there, Zach, looks like things have slowed down for a few laps. So maybe there's some thoughts about trying to split it 50-50 on a one-stop strategy.
I mentioned at the beginning of the race that it was possible that you could pit on about lap 60, 65 and split the race in half and make it if it went green. And against all odds here in the CIL, we have not done our best truck series impression yet, and we have gone completely green after our lap 1 incident to start the race, and that has played into the hands of the drivers who think this can work. We had some drivers come down pit road, a handful and a smattering. But for the time being, the strategy call right now is going to play in the favor of the drivers that are staying out. As you're riding on board with Zach the Whale on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, I think he's got some new equipment as well that is playing into his favor this season too.
Yeah, he's definitely been running really well so far tonight. I'm also just kind of keep peeking over at that timing table, and a name that has now presented itself inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. It's that Chattahoochee technical car, Drew Jawad, now finding himself 7th after picking off a couple of cars in the back half of the top 10. Now, granted, he's got up there a little bit with this pit cycle so far, but he has rallied himself back. I mean, he was involved in that lap 1 incident with Michael Sidor, but now really doing a good job charging back toward the front and finds himself within striking distance of a lot of our playoff field. Oh, here comes DeWale.
The leader pulls the trigger. Here comes Zach DeWale getting that car slowed way down, just a bit of a lockup onto pit road. And you can see him talking with his team, give me tires and fuel, as it looks like this is going to be the beginning of our lead pack coming down pit road. Maybe our Muhammad Alif coming down into the pits the lap prior forced his hand to try and stay in the lead of the race.
So the 027 into his box. Looks like he got in pretty good. Right side's going to go up on that machine.
Oh, caution! Oh, no!
Oh!
Disaster for Zach DeWale. Came down pit road. The caution came out. You saw the pace car peeling off of pit road right as that 027 machine stopped. And that has thrown a wrench in this race.
That's going to be a huge break for a lot of the playoff drivers, though, who had yet to come down. All of the top 6 were still waiting, and Duncan O'Connor in 10th. I mean, 7 playoff drivers now in the top 10 who were waiting to pull the trigger on coming down pit road, and it's a good thing they did. That's going to work out hugely in their favor, as well as a few other drivers who had not made their way down pit road yet. That's really going to probably split the field in half. And if you're in a spot like Tim Robb, you've already put about 10 laps on those tires. Do you consider coming down again and just getting on the same cycle as everybody else?
I'm not sure. That's a hard call to make right now at this point. Given the age-old adage of cautions breed cautions, I think I'd stay out and take that track position because you don't know when that next caution is going to come out. As we see the field coming down pit road, Morton, Cummings, O'Brien, Williams, Moore, Jawad, Leclerc, the entire top 10 coming down pit road, Alex.
Yeah, and here they come. Morton into his box, Williams into his box, so is Jawad. Cummings and O'Brien have a little bit further to travel to make it to theirs. Looks like everyone got into their box pretty cleanly here. We'll take a look at the 043 as he's going to put 4 tires and fuel into that Huskies machine. It's going to be critical here not to make any mistakes on pit road. It looked like everyone got in all right. Let's see if they get off at the same time. Here comes Morton. He will win the race off of pit road. O'Brien will move up to second, and then it's a 3-way battle there between, I believe that was Tim Moore and Drew Williams and Jay Cummings, I believe. So a good tight battle there between a number of those playoff drivers coming off pit road.
Zach DeWale got extremely lucky there. He did not go a lap down during that pit cycle. So he is actually going to re-inherit the lead for the time being. Wow. Matt Morton going to pull out second. And then Matt O'Brien, Tim Moore, Drew Williams, Jake Cummings, the big loser on pit road, dropping 5 positions on pit road.
That's a huge break for Zach DeWale if he does re-line up in the first position. I'd be I was honestly shocked because I thought he was going to get pinned back there and have to take the wave run to get back on the lead lap. But I may be wrong. Maybe he's in good shape. So let's take a look at the replay here to see what brought out the caution, because we were going through the pit cycle as it happened, but here is the replay of what brought out the caution on lap 55.
Are we looking at maybe some troubles for that 22 machine coming down pit road? It's Austin DeLong. He's coming down pit road, and yep, that car just loops on him. Actually slides back on the track and collects Nick Stockner. Hard hit for that 124 machine, and it looks like that the day might be done for that Clemson car. But Austin DeLong at least able to get down pit road very quickly and get some repairs done to that car, because I'm sure the back end of that thing is destroyed.
It looked like the 22 had it locked down. It looked like that thing was pretty well settled, and then it just kind of launched back on track late, and everyone was able to get up high, but I think Stockner was on the inside of a car too wide off the corner and didn't have the opportunity to get off where DeLong was coming on the track and just absolutely clobbered the 22. But yeah, I almost argue that the 124 got the worst end of that.
Yeah, and Stockner really didn't do anything wrong in that instance. It was just another wrong place at the wrong time incident.
So that was what brought out our second caution of the day here. We see a couple of cars taking the wave around, it looks like. So Dylan
wave arounds for
Halterman. Looks like maybe Muhammad Alif, Sky Schreck. That is Kelton Quick as well. Schulenberger and Moody, Bartholomew, Stagey. A number of cars taking the wave around here, but it does look like Zach DeWale will stay in the lead here. So a huge break for the 027.
He got so lucky, and unluck strikes again for Muhammad Alif, as he's not even in the top 10 anymore. He pitted literally the lap before the caution came out.
It's becoming an unfortunate trend there for that 12 team, pitting right before something big happens. He had to come down pit road a lap or two before the end of the race last week at Darlington that killed his playoff chances. And now this week, stuck on the wrong side of a green flag caution or green flag pit cycle caution. That'll send him well into the back of the field, but it'll be DeWale on the inside, Matt Morton on the outside here as the pace car is actually, I thought he was peeling off here, but the lights are on for one more lap, so all the wave around cars can get back and caught up to the field. So it's going to be a bit of a log jam, I think, on that inside lane here when they take the green next lap.
Yeah, race control added another lap to that caution just so all the wave around cars could get settled in back at the back of the pack. So we're going to try it one more time. Zach DeWale, Matt Morton on row 1, Tim Moore, Matt O'Brien on row number 2, Drew Williams to the inside of Jake Cummings in row number 3, Matt Nordberg, Jason Wallet on row 4, Tim Wilms and Duncan O'Connor are going to restart in row 5. So we now have 6 of our playoff drivers inside the top 10 for this restart, but the leader is a non-playoff driver, and every one of those cars behind him wants to take that lead away to have a shot to win the championship at Homestead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think someone who really deserves a bit of a shout out here is Duncan O'Connor for Nova Scotia Community College. That car's rallied up 20 positions from where it started in the last restart, so he's back into the hunt here with a lot of the other playoff drivers as they are about to get going here. In just a second, the pace car getting ready to peel off momentarily.
Yeah, Benny, the pace car driver, going to make the hard left onto pit road. His cohort Barney with the green flag in hand. Zach DeWale approaches the restart zone. He and Morton hit the gas. We're back to playoff racing at Kansas.
Yeah, that outside line got a really good jump as they go in the one. Morton's going to be right on that outside of DeWale as they hit the corner. Tim Moore and Matt O'Brien side by side as well for third with Drew Williams in the mix. Can DeWale hold on to that inside here, or is that outside run from Morton going to be too much? We'll find out as they go into 3. And DeWale really launched it in there on the brakes late, maybe thinking about trying to slide up in front of the 13. He's going to be able to do it. Zach DeWale holding on to the lead for now, but Matt Morton all over the back bumper of that machine.
And a gaggle of cars fighting in the top 10. Look at that Hornet's nest. Nose to tail, the 007 of Cummings, the 043 of O'Brien, the 23 of Williams. Nose to tail entering turn 1. They've got Matt Nordberg down underneath them. On the bottom now, Drew Williams giving a nice little draft to Jason Wallet and Drexel University down the backstretch. As they are all moving up to that high line, you don't want to be stuck on that bottom lane on the restart. You can see the pace differential, just how much quicker that high line is through the corners.
Yeah, I think it's all right to be on the inside through 1 and 2. The problem is you don't want to be on the inside by the time you hit 3 and 4. I think that's where things really start to get out of sorts. And that's where we're seeing some trouble for Nordberg. There's a little bit of smoke there coming out of the corner, maybe a bit of contact from someone in the wall. Unable to tell who it was from that angle, but everyone looks like they're still in one piece here. But right now, I mean, you just look right behind the leaders, and it's just 2-3 wide all throughout that top 15.
Drew Jabaugh in that number 3 Chattahoochee Tech car has now cracked his way into the top 10 for the first time tonight. So we've got 7 of our playoff drivers in the top 10 battling for the lead, and all of them are in the top 15. So this is going to shape up to be an incredible race. We still have at least one more pit stop to make. So the drivers have to have that in their minds as we're 3 wide through 3 and 4. A little bit of contact possibly between O'Brien and Cummings as that Michigan Tech machine got way sideways through the center of the corner. But the 07 and the 76 going to choose that inside line for the front stretch. Can't quite get that move to stick. Cummings sent it to the inside. Going to be side by side with the 043 coming out of the corner. Can't get up in front and block as that's going to a huge head of steam there for Matt O'Brien as he carries Wallet with him down the backstretch.
Yeah, Cummings couldn't quite get the run he needed, not being able to get full extension up to the wall off of turn 2. O'Brien's able to capitalize. Wallet will follow him through to take away the 5th position here. And now Cummings has got to regroup and rally to try and get that position back before he falls back any farther into the clutches of Drew Williams or Matt Nordberg there running 7th and 8th. So far, though, Cummings has run a really clean race to this point. He was out front of the playoff drivers for a lot of the early going here. Still very much in the mix as they run, but currently trending in the wrong direction is that Wingate Bulldogs machine.
His battles inside the top 10 just heating up as we're only a few laps into this restart. Second stint of the race is full and active. We're into the middle third now, approaching the final third when we hit lap 75. So these drivers now starting to think about their end game. Here's Tim Robb looking underneath that. Who is that up on top? Is that Duncan O'Connor? Yes. No,
that is Charles Wembley of Guilford.
There's a name we haven't seen
yep.
yet this season. Yeah,
I believe that is his CIL debut here tonight at Kansas, and so far Charles Wembley, not Wilford, Wembley of Guilford. He's putting together a pretty decent run to this point here. Currently running inside the top 15, ahead of Tim Robb and Clint Halterman. Really in the mix with all of them here. As you see, that is the car just in front of Tim Robb. Major Monsevice also closing in on the back bumper of that American University machine, but. Right now, 10th on back, it's O'Connor and then a whole host of cars trying to take 10th place away from him.
Nose to tail, pretty much the entire top 15 of the field. Zach DeWale up at the front has checked out to about a half a second lead over Matt Morton. Morton staying with DeWale for the battle for the lead of this race. He's got more than a few playoff drivers to worry about behind him, though. As Tim Robb's going to try and look at the back bumper of the 600. Gets a really good run coming out of turn 4. Can he do anything with it? Doesn't look like much. Going to try and stick that nose out just a half a lane above. Get some cool air flowing through that engine to get it cooled off. And they're right back to it in turns 1 and 2.
That they are. I mean, this battle has just ceased to let up. Now Robb thinking about maybe to the inside, but that'll be a battle for later. Is Duncan O'Connor diving to the inside here of Matt Nordberg, trying to hold on to the 10th position from the NC Wolfpack car. They'll be side by side off of 4. It looks like Nordberg might get the slightly better run to the stripe. He'll take away the 10th position, at least for now, and slide up ahead of the 34 from Nova Scotia Community College. But that may not be a position he holds on to for long, as the 34 trying to rally back on that outside lane, going down the backstretch. Also, it looks like the 124 of Nick Stockner starting to rejoin the track here after repairing that damage from the incident back on lap 55. So the 124's day not done just yet, although he is a number of laps down.
That car looked really slow, too, there on the apron.
Yeah, he may have just been trying to let people pass and join a bit later, or maybe he's just really that down on power. And if he is that down on power, then probably shouldn't be rejoining the track in the first place. So I'm hoping it was just he's letting some people by so he could find an easier place to join. Almost. Wow. Oh, that was almost catastrophe. Williams actually clips the wall a little bit from that. Cummings was trying to find his way back into that drafting line to not lose out any more positions, and Drew Williams made contact with the back bumper there in a really vulnerable position. Cummings is lucky that 007 didn't get turned into the wall going into 3.
Yeah, that was a really aggressive block from that Wingate driver to try and get his way back into the draft, and I don't think Williams was expecting it. That completely threw him offline entering the corner in turn 3, and he wound up getting a piece of the wall, and he's going to drop back a few car lengths as they're going to try and resume that battle, but Williams probably not going to be happy about that one.
I'm sure he's not, because that's also let Drew Jawad get right on his back bumper. You see here the 23 blocked up by the 07. The 3 launches it into turn 1 and 2. Absolutely dives it in there on the inside of the 23, trying to hold on to the back bumper, unable to do so. Had such a strong entry, couldn't quite get the exit he was looking for. Cummings, though, holding on the 6th right now. 3 playoff drivers in a really tight battle here for 6th through 8th as they make their way down out of turn 4, back onto the front stretch. Now it's Williams looking to the outside of the 007 as they make their way into turn 1. Drew Jawad right there as well. Cummings goes down to the inside. Williams to the outside now through 1 and 2. Cummings going to slide back up, unable to take away that spot. Williams moves up to 6th. Jawad moves up to 7th. Cummings will have to fall back into the 8th position.
Great moves by Williams and Jawad right there. And actually, Jawad getting a piece of the wall as that's going to let the 007 back into the mix as those two drivers are going to fight their battle back behind this pack. But what a move by the 23 to look to the outside down the front stretch to take away that preferred line into turn 1. I think a lot of other drivers are going to notice that and keep that in the back of their pocket till the end of the race. Is now that Clemson machine going to look at the back bumper of the 76 of Drexel's Jason Wallet to try and get around him to battle Matt O'Brien for playoff point positions?
Yeah, that he is, and they're going to be critical ones at that. I mean, right now you see Matt Morton, Tim Moore, and Matt O'Brien running 2, 3, 4, and then another pack of playoff drivers running 6th through 8th right now. So a whole lot of opportunities to get those points all in one place. As the 23 clips the wall a little bit, now Cummings looking maybe to take advantage on the inside. Is he going to be able to? Not that time. And now it's a St. Clair car. It's Athena Leclerc looking to the inside of Cummings going into 3. It's Williams looking to the inside of Drew Jawad. I mean, they're all over the place here down the backstretch, throwing through 3 and 4. Leclerc going to try and slide back up in front of Nordberg, unable to do so. The 076 with a full head of steam, and Duncan O'Connor right in his tire tracks trying to follow him through if he can complete this pass.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move by Athena Leclerc to take advantage and capitalize on the mistakes of the drivers in front, as now Jake Cummings has checked out to about a couple car length lead over that pack to try and rejoin the battle with Williams and Jawad. And I think I'm trying to think, how many laps do we have until our next pit cycle? The caution came out
down
on
at 55, so they came 55. Down around 57. So they probably still have another 20 laps at least before, well, if they're trying to split it in half, probably another 10 before they start considering it.
Yeah, because this second stint, you can split it in half, or at least the run till the end of the race, you can split it in half. So the optimal time would be around lap 90 to 95 is I think when we're going to see a lot of our drivers come in and pit. So that's approaching relatively quickly as we're going to go side by side, or rather split screen top bottom. The battle at the top of the screen between the 23 of Williams and the 007 of Jake Cummings. Down underneath him, that's Matt Nordberg for NC State. Duncan O'Connor in that 34 Nova Scotia Community College machine. Already a great recovery drive for that driver after a poor qualifying effort. He's now worked his way inside the top 10. This is the battle on the top is for 7th and 8th. These two drivers down on the bottom battling for 9th and 10th. And now the 11th place car coming into the mix. I think that was that a Ball State machine?
That was Athena Leclerc, St. Clair College,
St. Clair
who's been
College.
hanging around, yeah. Her teammate, though, Zach DeWale, I mean, cruise control up front, even with Matt Morton restarting on the outside. The 027 checked out. An over 1 second lead now for Zach DeWale. I mean, nobody's had anything to stop Zach DeWale so far today at Kansas. I mean, he has been by far the dominant car.
Yeah, he's led just about every single lap this race, with the exception of the pit cycle in the lap 50s range. But he's checked out to a 2 1/4 lead over Matt Morton. I don't think there's anything going to be stopping that 027 St. Clair machine.
Not if the only thing that can stop him at this point is something that I'm not going to try and jinx on air here, because that would not be very nice of me. But it's definitely right now. I mean, everything going right now for the St. Clair College team there, and Zach DeWale. I mean, he's having an absolutely terrific day. As we jump on board here with Drew Williams trying to take away 6th from Jason Wallet as he clips the wall a little bit going in the 1. You can see that 007 in the rearview mirror getting a little bit bigger as they made their way through the corner. Jake Cummings now closing into the back bumper. As you can see through that mirror, you see what Drew Williams sees on his end of things right now, how big that the nose of that Wingate car is trying to find his way around. 23, though, looks to have a slightly better run off the corner. Will try and track down Wallet once again. He's not been able to really make any forward progress these past few laps, but he's been able to do a good job keeping everything behind him. And right now, Drew Williams holding steady in the 7th position.
I think that Wingate machine of Cummings is being really smart right now. He's biding his time. He's waiting for these battles to come to him. He's saving his tires possibly to try to extend this stint as late in the race as he can, to have those really fresh tires for that final sprint to the finish after about lap 100. So some smart thinking and strategy from that Wingate team right now at the moment is actually he's going to come under fire, still battling with that NC State machine of Matt Nordberg, but ever so momentarily that 34 Nova Scotia Community College car of Duncan O'Connor was up to his back bumper, but he's now got his hands full of Athena Leclerc, as Cummings able to make the pass stick on Nordberg, as he can now once again set his sights on that Clemson car up in front.
Yeah, everyone trying to settle in and finding their race here in the back half of the stint. I feel like a lot of these races at Kansas, especially from what we've seen in the CIL, it's a lot of in the first half of the stint on these longer runs, you really be aggressive, you really try and take moves as they happen, and really try and make your way up the field. And then on the back half of it, it's really a lot of damage control, making sure you've got tires to fully extend it, because it's not super easy to pass this late into a tire run. It's very easy to lose positions, though. If you burnt yourself out too quickly, you can fall like a rock through these standings. So everyone's got to be very mindful of that. And right now, I think we see a lot of these cars starting to do so. I think Drew Williams, Jake Cummings, Duncan O'Connor, all of them starting to try and settle in a little bit here. Matt Nordberg as well. All of them starting to find kind of their rhythm, although they are losing time to that front pack ahead of them. They're all kind of chasing Jason Wallet right now, who's almost a second back of Drew Joie in 5th.
We are now officially into the final third of this Flyover State 200 from Kansas Speedway, the first playoff race of the season in our second round of the College Cup Series here. The first of 3 races is some contact there for Athena Leclerc. She got into the quarter panel of the 34 car, went way sideways on corner entry, but a great save by that St. Clair driver to keep that machine straight.
It was also a nice steady job there from O'Connor not to let that throw him out of line. Made sure he kept his car off the wall, because even if he had clipped the wall there, that may have really hurt his chances on trying to track down Cummings or Nordberg. So it could have been a lot worse for both of those drivers, but they will keep that fight going for 10th as they're watching Cummings on the outside, Nordberg on the inside here, the battle for 8th. Nordberg able to hold on to that position for the moment, but he's not got a whole lot of clearance here as now Cummings looks to the inside, launches it way in there, and is going to look to slide back up the track here, coming off of 3 and 4. Able to do so, and he'll take away that position for now. But now Nordberg fighting back on the inside. These two are really battling for eighth right now. They're trading it back and forth. Everyone throwing haymakers at each other right now. It's a little farther up. This is a battle for fourth on the bottom side of your screen. That's O'Brien and Drew Jawad there coming off of 2.
Michigan Tech trying to defend a run from Chattahoochee Tech. Is actually Drew Jawad is able to walk away with that position momentarily. Here's the crossover move from O'Brien
Drew
as
Williams
Drew
coming down
Williams
pit
comes
road.
down pit road. Green flag pit stop starting here in the second cycle of the race as Drew Jawad trying to take away that fourth position. Yes, he can do it into turn 1, and look at the gap he made that just on entry into 1.
Yeah, I mean, that Chattahoochee Tech car right now, I think did a really good job of saving its tires early because it looks really, really fast right now. You see the 23 get the right sides up. Now he's got the left sides up on that car. Michael Seidor, the car in front of him there, his day is done. I don't think we'll see the 15 back on track at any point here. So 23 down and away, final pit stop of the day, most likely for that Clemson team. We'll have to see where he recycles out, but he's the one kicking off what could be the final green flag pit cycle of the day.
And there's the undercut. There's the strategy that has worked pretty much all season. We've seen in the College Cup Series, the drivers who come in earlier have the freshest tires. They're going to be significantly faster than the other drivers who are on the lead lap. And he's probably going to kick off green flag stops unless the rest of the drivers here in the top 10 think they can make it to the end on fuel. If they can baby their tires and save just enough gas, they might be able to make it to the end. But we've still got 41, now 40 laps to go in this event.
Yeah, it looks like O'Connor also came down pit road here. So a couple of our playoff drivers pit real early as O'Connor's also being scored back outside the top 20 right now. So I got to imagine, barring anything that we missed, he must have also come down pit road. So you see a few more cars coming down pit road as well. This is Lucas Moody leaving pit road. Tim Robb now from American University. He's getting his service done for likely the final time. Athena Leclerc rolling off as well. So a lot of those cars inside the top 15, but not necessarily inside the top 5, thinking this might be the opportunity to gain a couple spots on pit road.
Yeah, this is the money stop 100%. A good pit stop will get you at least a couple positions out on track, and a bad one can ruin your race. So no mistakes for any of these drivers that have come down pit road that we're aware of. They all keep it clean and come back out on track. Because we're gonna wait for those tires to heat up so we can get a good little indicator of how quick those drivers are that have pitted versus the ones that stayed out.
Yeah, that'll really be the question. And I'm sure a lot of these drivers who have not come down pit road yet, they'll be asking themselves the same thing. They'll be keeping an eye on those times as well, and they'll probably be doing some math in their head, or their crews will be doing some math in their head and trying to calculate when those tires would flip the script and would work out the pit this early. And if it does, they're probably going to be coming down pit road pretty soon. If they think they can last a bit longer, they may as well wait. But we're already seeing a bit of a split conscience here between some of the drivers who wanted to pit early and some of those who want to stretch it a bit later. As you see Matt Nordberg into his stall, a little sideways, but they're able to get the jack up on both sides. So the 076 will have the ability to get off cleanly despite getting in a little sideways.
Zach DeWale's last lap time as the leader of 32.087. And if I look at Tim Robb, his last one was a 31.2, so a second quicker a lap for these drivers that are coming down pit road versus the ones that have stayed out on track, and that is going to play into their favor significantly.
Yeah, right now, the top 5 has not come down pit road yet. Actually, I think make that the top 7 as far as cars that were in the top 10 before the pit cycle. Now with a few cars cycled through, you see a Leaf and Wembley and Halterman up there as well. But starting to see enough takers on pit road now where that's the split strategy is really in full effect. But as this is going on, any indication on if the new tires are really making a huge difference?
Absolutely. I think the new tires, they're making an incredible impact at the moment. These drivers that have come down pit road are so fast, so much faster than the leaders that have stayed out. As you see Matt Morton with a pretty big hit actually into the wall coming out of turn 4, having trouble keeping that car underneath him. That's the 074 of Tim Moore coming down pit road, our Daytona 250 champ. making his way into the playoffs by virtue of that win, as he's going to come in and make his stop in his pit stall, get 4 fresh Goodyears, and get back out on track as quick as possible. And these pit stops have completely shaken up the field.
Yeah, and because of that, I mean, you're starting to see people that, there's a lot of comers and goers there during the green flag pit stops, and you see cars you may not necessarily see in the top 10 all the time running up there, or cars that have been running good all day are now stuck back in traffic. It really becomes a challenge for everyone out there because not everyone's running at the same speed or on the same strategy, and you really just got to be aware and very heads up of what everyone else is doing, so you don't think someone's going to get a good run off the corner and then they are on old tires and they just check up in front of you. You see O'Brien sliding into his pit stall, but he'll get in there just in time. Right side's going up on that Huskies machine, and for what will be likely his final pit stop of the day.
Final quarter of the race is officially underway. 33 laps to go in this 133-lap race. If you're just now tuning in, welcome to the Flyover State 200 here from Kansas Speedway, the first of 3 races in our playoff round, and a critical mistake for Morton as he overshoots his pit box by a couple of inches, had to get that car in reverse, backed up. That's going to cost him a few tenths, which could ultimately spell disaster for him coming back out on track. We're going to see where that puts him once the cycle is complete, but we emphasized how critical this pit stop was, how a good pit stop could work heavily in your favor, but a mistake could really mess you up. As now Zach DeWale going to come down pit road, the leader on pit road, and that means that the 3 of Drew J.Y. is going to inherit the race lead for the time being, as DeWale also overshoots his pit box. That is a blessing for Matt Morton.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be huge for Morton. It's going to be a killer there for Zach DeWale. It actually looks like Morton's having some trouble getting that car going. I don't know what's happened to the 13, but that's stuck on pit road now. Finally gets away. Has lost a ton of time, though. I mean, DeWale came in a lap later, and they're leaving at the same point in time. That is a brutal situation there for the 13. Not entirely sure what happened, but that is going to really put him in a tough spot here in the closing 30 laps or so. It's also going to throw a huge wrench into this race because with it being a bit of a slow stop for DeWale as well, how is this all going to cycle out? I mean, the top 2 cars, both with issues on pit road. Do we see someone who came in early like Drew Williams or Duncan O'Connor find their way up there, or is it going to be someone else as now Drew Jawad brings it down pit road?
That is a lethal blow to the 13's chances of winning that race, and I believe he got a speeding penalty too fast entering. He was shown a black flag and had to hold in his pit stall. So a critical mistake for that Ohio State team, which has dropped him all the way down to 24th at the moment. The last playoff driver running on track, as he's gonna be kicking himself over that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's a situation you simply can't afford to have at this stage of the race, especially when you've had a car that was capable of at least podiuming, maybe getting the win if you were able to reel in Zach DeWale. I mean, that 027 had been a missile all day, but also the DeWale also had an issue on pit road, so that would have been the opportunity had it not been for the speeding penalty, but definitely a tough break for a lot of those drivers. As you see, DeWale is now cycled back into 9th behind Tim Robb here. Right now, it's Jason Wallet in the lead, though. Him and Clint Halterman, I believe, the only 2 cars who have not come down pit road yet. So you've got Wallet, Halterman, and then Drew Williams, who's recycled back up into 3rd place here after the pit stop. But right now, you're on board with Tim Robb. You see him in the bottom of your screen. He's trying to make up for lost time here as he currently runs 7th. Sandwiched between a couple of St. Clair cars and Athena Leclerc and Zach DeWale.
I'm looking at his onboard, and it looks like he's got horns.
That's funny.
Great positioning for that camera, Tim. That's well done. Either if it was a mistake or if it was intentional, well done. But yeah, you can see the one thing I've noticed about all these onboard cams is the focus in the driver's eyes. They've got their eyes locked on the bumper of the car in front of them. They're looking at the entry points. They're looking for those apexes in the corners. They might check their mirrors every now and then, but they're not going to let that car behind get in their head. They've got their eyes ahead of them, focusing on what's coming up next. But Rob's got to worry about that machine of Zach DeWale behind him. Is now Clint Halterman going to come down pit road and make his stop? Jason Wallet still staying out at the front. I guess he is hoping and praying for a caution in the later stages of this race. And if statistics show anything to prove, he's got it. He's got statistics in his favor right now.
Yeah, but he just brought it down pit road right now, I believe. I think the 76 officially bailing on that strategy, which would move Drew Williams to the lead, I believe, assuming that my eyes did not deceive me there. But then it'd be Williams, who's only got a half second up on Tim Moore, and then Duncan O'Connor, Athena Leclerc, Zach DeWale, Tim Robb, Matt O'Brien, Drew Jawad, Jake Cummings, throughout the top 9, and then rounding out the top 10 would be Matt Nordberg. So still a lot of playoff drivers in there. One of the ones I think that would be most intriguing to see would be Clint Halterman, who's probably on the freshest tires of any playoff driver. He was one of the last ones to come down pit road. Still has some work to do back there in 19th. But, yeah, Matt Morton still is in 23rd. I mean, he's in a rough go here. Now, Tim Moore looking to take the lead away from Drew Williams. This is the battle for the lead on track here with less than 25 laps to go.
Tim Moore has not seen victory lane since the season opener at Daytona, but it looks like he's going to try and start his playoffs off with a bang as he just rocketed around the 23 of Williams to take the lead on lap 110. Only 24 laps remaining in this race. It's closing time for these playoff drivers if they want a shot at a championship 4 berth to Homestead and to not have to worry about next week's race at Talladega.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, you think about it, overshooting his pit stall cost Zach DeWale just a couple of seconds on pit road. Right now, his deficit to the leader is just a couple of seconds. He would probably still be in the lead if it was not for that, but right now he's got almost 2 seconds of ground he needs to make up here on Tim Moore and Drew Williams. Right now, he's going to probably have the opportunity to catch up to Williams if Williams keeps bouncing off the wall like that. But right now, Tim Moore's got a lot of open track in front of him here as the laps tick away. This could be a huge victory for Manhattanville College. Not necessarily out of nowhere, but after first win since Daytona. And I mean, we've only seen him up front really like in the lead a couple of times this season. This would be a huge win for Tim Moore.
Well, the thing about the playoffs is it rewards drivers for being consistent. And if Tim Moore can put together a run here at the end of the season, he's got a great shot at the championship trophy. As Drew Williams really losing ground right now on Tim Moore, a combination of little mistakes and maybe some nerves from that Clemson driver leading a playoff race with so little laps to go, getting in his head. And then he lost the dirty air to Tim Moore as well, as that lead has opened up to a 2.5 seconds over the last couple of laps. And now he's going to come under fire from Zach DeWale, who's got a match lit under his seat right now. He might get the second position going into turn 3 this time by.
Yeah, this is the battle for second on the top of your screen. Meanwhile, a little farther down, it's the battle for fourth. O'Brien diving in on Duncan O'Connor here. That is Michigan Tech taking away the 4th position. Just behind them was Athena Leclerc in 6th. So a couple more playoff drivers trying to make their late charge toward the front. Matt O'Brien currently running 4th. O'Connor holding on to a top 5 right now, but he's got Athena Leclerc all over the back bumper of that machine. Now it looks like the 61 may actually get around him here for 5th. But back up front, I mean, Zach DeWale got about 20 laps to make their way up to the lead here. Is 3 wide going into the corner. It's Drew Jawad, Athena Leclerc, and Duncan O'Connor. Jawad clears them both. Meanwhile, a little farther back, it might have been Cummings into the wall a little bit there.
Yeah, Jake Cummings got a little kiss of the wall in the center of 3 and 4 as he made his way around the 7.6 of Matt Nordberg. But it was 3 wide momentarily, a playoffs driver's sandwich going into turn 1 that time by as Drew Jawad has turned on the afterburners and is going to try and chase down Matt O'Brien up in front of him. That battle also including Duncan O'Connor, Athena Leclerc, and Tim Robb at the back half of that pack, as Robb's now going to look to the inside to get under the 61 of Leclerc, but can't quite get that move to stick, but is going to stay with her down the front stretch, hopefully to try and set a move up into turn 1. As I'm wondering if that 23 machine of Williams is having some problems, as he's losing time to DeWale, and Matt O'Brien is closing in a lot.
Well, Matt O'Brien's closing in, but Zach DeWale's closing in on Tim Moore. 17 laps to go. He's cut that deficit he had almost in half. It was 2.2. Now it's 1 second even here on the back of the 074. So certainly seems like DeWale's moving forward. But to your point, Drew Williams certainly seems like that car is a handful right now. Matt O'Brien has gained a second on him over the past couple laps here. And with Matt O'Brien comes Drew Jawad, Duncan O'Connor, and Jake Cummings. So a lot of playoff points here at stake here if Drew Williams keeps falling back any further. But back up toward the front of the field here, I mean, we're about to hit the 15 to go sign, and Zach DeWale might get there.
I think he's got plenty of time with the pace that he has. That gap has come down from a second and a half to about 6/10 in just a couple of laps. So Tim Moore maybe with the problem at the front of the field getting into the wall. There's another 2/10 going into turn one. Zach DeWale is going to most likely catch and get by Tim Moore for the lead, as this battle for the lead is going to start to heat up in the next lap or so. Zach DeWale with a rocket of a race car right now as he's going to try and take the lead as this battle continues to heat up between these two drivers, Drew Jawa and Matt O'Brien, going at it side by side. We talked about how Jawa was catching up to O'Brien. Well, it has happened. The number 3 car battling the 043 for position, as now that's the 13 of Matt Morton, scored a few laps down. He's going to try and unlap himself. He is currently the lowest scored playoff driver in the 22nd position after speeding on pit road and having to hold for 30 seconds. So not a good day for him. We heard from him at the beginning of the race. He had high hopes coming into tonight's race at Kansas, hoping to not have to worry about Talladega next week was his biggest goal. But that Ohio State team's going to have to start doing some preparations for that race.
That they are. Meanwhile, back up front, Zach DeWale has cleared Tim Moore, St. Clair College, back up front, and he is already checking out from the 074. It was a battle for about half to a full lap, but now the 027 is pulling away. A little farther back in the field here, you see a Leaf and Jason Wallet battling just outside the top 10. But yeah, no, I mean, now that everyone is kind of settling in, really a lot of the points that are still up for grabs there, right in that little pack of Drew Jawad, Matt O'Brien, they're both starting to make some big progress here on Drew Williams. They will probably catch him before this race is over. Drew Jawad only 6/10 back of the 23.
And it looks like this race is going to go the way of Zach DeWale, pending a late race caution as that lead up top is still growing. Drew Williams losing time to the 074 of Tim Moore, but Williams now at risk of losing positions to both Jawa and O'Brien. Both of those cars within about a half a second and change of that 23 Clemson machine, hoping to get by him for those critical points before we get into Talladega. Best case scenario for Tim Moore is he can try and get around Zach DeWale to win and not have to worry about Talladega to lock his spot into the championship four. But right now, it looks like we're going to have 2 drivers that can point their way into Homestead. At the beginning of the playoff round, we had 3 spots up for grabs. If 3 playoff drivers won, then that 4th position would be a driver that points their way in. But if a playoff driver doesn't win a race here in the playoff round, that means there is another position up for grabs by virtue of points. So Tim Moore, Drew Jawa, Drew Williams walking away with some big points tonight over the rest of the playoffs field. That's going to help them. But Williams not going to go gently into that good night. He's going to try and stay on the back bumper of Drew Jawa to score those extra points he would get from that 3rd place position as opposed to 4th. But it looks like Jawa with the better car right now is going to get away from that Clemson driver, and he is now at risk of losing out to Matt O'Brien as well.
Yeah, he's got this battle, though, while it's been going on. Drew Williams has had the opportunity to get a lot of drafting done on these straightaways off the back bumper of Jawa, so the 2 of them have really pulled away from Matt O'Brien. O'Brien is 2nd back now in 5th. He's also got another 2nd and change back to Jake Cummings in 6th, so right now, it seems like Matt O'Brien might just be stuck in the top 5 here with 9 laps to go. Cummings just on the outside looking in 6th, but it has been all Zach DeWale so far here today at Kansas outside of that pit cycle. Even with a little bit of a mistake on pit road, able to escape it with some other cars having issues on pit road. And the 027 dominant so far as we hit the 8 laps to go. Oh, the caution's out.
Oh!
What happened?
And there it is.
What has happened? Oh, Andrew Burrow backwards in 3 and 4.
That car is not going straight.
No, that you never want to be looking at oncoming traffic here at Kansas Speedway. That's usually a bad sign.
And that Clemson 888 driver is going to go ahead and call the tow truck, get towed back to pit road. Something broken on that car, but he couldn't get it turned around as the caution comes out with 8 laps to go. And now comes the fun part. Do you pit or do you stay out? This is a late race caution. It's going to be a 4-lap sprint to the finish, if everything holds right by my math. And I think everybody up top is going to come down pit road. This is the money stop.
A lot of takers. Duncan O'Connor, though, staying out. The 34 is going to take the gamble, try and stay out on the older tires. He was one of those first cars who even came down pit road on the pit cycle, so those are really old tires. Jawad Williams into their pit box. Here goes Tim Moore into his. This is going to be a huge battle to race off a pit road to see who's going to get those positions back up front.
Possibly the race win and a berth in the championship 4 on the line. Williams gets out of his pit box first, but he's got a long way to go to get down. Who's going to get it coming off a pit road? It's going to be a dead heat. Who got the lead? We're going to have to see when it all cycles out. Drew Williams is going to take the lead off of pit road as Matt Nordberg and Lucas Moody also stayed out ahead of these drivers. Duncan O'Connor in the lead of the race at the moment. He will restart on the front, but Drew Williams and Matt O'Brien are going to lead the pack of drivers on newer tires through the field.
Yeah, that's a huge win off of pit road there for the 23. However, it's worth noting if that 23 is still having handling issues, if it wasn't a tire problem but a car problem from hitting the wall a couple of times there, the newer tires in that track position is going to be so critical with all those other playoff cars behind him. You see a few more takers of the lap down cars here coming down pit road, but right now, I think the big thing for Duncan O'Connor, who's going to inherit this lead when they go racing again with 4 laps to go, is now he's got a couple of cars who are also on older tires who are going to be back there with him. Maybe just a little bit of an extra defense before you get to those cars who are going to try and charge up on him on fresh tires. So I think Duncan O'Connor was expecting a few more cars to stay out, or maybe he saw everyone go in and thought he'd take the shot, but I like the call from the 34, but it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Let's take a look at the replay here to see what happened to Andrew Burrell to bring out this late race caution.
Oh, it looks like he had made some contact with the 6 of Zarin Bartholomew. No, that's the 8.
Yeah, that's actually the 808 of Dylan Godinez. And the Godinez, I mean, Burrell and Nordberg had nowhere to go when Godinez got up the track. Man, tough break there. And once again, bad luck strikes for Nat Nordberg. He was having such a good run so far today. But you can see this unfold just in front of him. And, Nordberg and Burrell try getting up and over it, but just not enough room for 2 cars to exist side by side when Godinez was in the middle of the track there.
Yeah, nothing really either of those drivers could have done. I mean, you saw all the smoke coming out of that 808 machine after making contact with the St. Clair number 6. But man, just unfortunate for both of those cars involved.
So lights are out on the pace car. It's going to be Duncan O'Connor up front. Then it's going to be Lucas Moody, Drew Williams, Matt O'Brien, Jake Cummings, Athena Leclerc, your top 6.
So realistically, there are 3 playoff drivers with a shot to win this race. Williams, O'Brien, and is that Cummings? Yeah, Jake Cummings with a shot. It's going to be really, really hard for that Nova Scotia 34 machine of O'Connor since he's on significantly older tires, as is 21 of Lucas Moody from Ball State. They've got to hope and pray that they don't spin the tires on the restart and to try and use that clean air at the front of the pack to their advantage to try and keep those drivers on new tires behind them.
If I'm O'Connor, I'm going to try and find any sort of way, not necessarily to check up the line on the restart, but just do anything to try and throw off the timing there for Drew Williams, because that car is going to be right on his back bumper as they get into one. Any sort of separation he can create is going to be critical. Pace car peeling off here, just about go time once again at Kansas.
It's going to be a 4-lap shootout to decide the race. Duncan O'Connor hits the restart zone. The bottom lane stacks up, but not as bad as the top lane. We're back to racing at Kansas. Who is going to win the race and possibly lock themselves into the championship for? Duncan O'Connor to the inside. He gets a great restart, but Drew Williams to the outside on the better tires. He's going to take Jake Cummings with him as it's an absolute chaos fest behind them. Tim Robbs goes shooting down to the inside, down to the apron, as they're 3, possibly even 4 wide inside the top 15, but it's Williams out front at the moment. The 34 of O'Connor hanging on for dear life to the inside as they're 4 wide down the front straight away. 3 laps to go this time by. Who's going to survive? Who's going to make it? We've got cars on the apron, and the caution comes out.
Well, the caution could not have come out of the better time for those cars who were running 2nd through 5th.
Goodness.
That was about to be calamity. You could do that at Phoenix. You could not do that at Kansas. That just about saved several cars, I think. Did not help Athena Leclerc, unfortunately. The 61 car looks to be caught up in whatever incident may have occurred, but man, that was absolute chaos at the front of the field. And unfortunately, now if you're Duncan O'Connor or Lucas Moody, do you consider pitting now, or at this point have you just made your bed and you have to lay in it? I mean, clearly the older tires were not going to be able to hold up. Drew Williams was able to take the lead. Jake Cummings will inherit 2nd with Tim Moore in the top 3 as well. I mean, this is about to get absolutely wild up front. And Zach DeWale also into the mix as well here. He's had the fast car all day. Can he make something happen on the green-white checkered? I mean, there's so many questions. But, God, what furious racing right at the end there. I mean, everyone was just going for it with no regard on how they were going to make it work.
Not often you see 4 wide here in the CIL, but I think they might have had a shot at making it work that time, as the incident that brought out the caution was well behind that chaos. We saw Athena Leclerc getting turned around backwards on the front stretch. We're going to try and take a look and see what happened to her in just a couple moments. But that is going to set up CIL overtime here at Kansas.
Going to be a huge opportunity here. But let's take a look at this replay. I mean, they're 4 wide off the corner, and Athena Leclerc just got pinched a little bit and then ran out of room with Jason Wallet right there as well. I mean, that was a tough situation for the 61 to be in, but obviously with 3 laps to go, no one's going to give any sort of room. So just unfortunate series of events there, but 4 wide at Kansas, definitely not easy. I mean, in between Moody and Halterman, the tough part there as well, Moody's on older tires, not nearly as fast on that high lane. So the speed's variable, the lanes were variable. I mean, that is just so tough to calculate in real time. And unfortunately, the 76 and the 61, the only 2 cars who don't get the better end of that exchange.
Well, time's going to run out in the race. We are going to go to overtime. It's going to be Williams out front on the restart to his outside, Jake Cummings, Tim Moore behind him, Zach DeWale filling out row 2, and then on row 3, Matt O'Brien, Muhammad Alif, row 4, Drew Jawa, Charles Wembley from Guilford College in his CIL debut in the top 10. So a great opening run for that car, that number 37 machine. Row 5, Jake Wiest and Lucas Moody working his way back up into the top 10. Good night for Ball State. They've got 2 drivers in the top 10. In fact, the only school to do so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think O'Connor actually brought it down pit road there, knowing that those tires weren't going to cut it. So he's going to have to shuffle toward the back here. He's outside the top 20 now. I like the gamble. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off for him, but Drew Williams will be on the inside here with Jake Cummings on the outside. 2 cars that have had top 10, even top 5 speed today, but have not necessarily had the fastest car. Those have been Morton and DeWale. DeWale currently in 4th, and Matt Morton stuck back in traffic just inside the top 20. So it's going to be an opportunity for someone to steal one here at Kansas maybe, unless Zach DeWale gets the restart of a lifetime. But yeah, definitely a huge opportunity on the line. 3 playoff drivers in the top 3. All of them could clinch their ticket to Miami with a victory, and all of them would love to do so before Talladega and Michigan.
Zach DeWale and Muhammad Alif ran 1-2 for the entire first half of this race. They're looking to play playoff spoiler. If one of them winds up winning this race, then nobody takes the qualifying spot to Homestead from this race. And then that would totally throw a wrench in the playoff standings going into the championship round. But there are 3 playoff drivers inside the top 4 with a shot to win this race. 2 of them on the front row, and this is going to be the most intense racing we have seen all day. Strap into your seats, folks. This is going to be another classic CIL barnstormer finish. Need to get that trademarked at this point, but it's going to be Williams on the pole going onto this restart. CIL overtime to his outside. Jake Wiest, Wingate University, right behind them. Tim Moore, Manhattanville College. Zach DeWale, St. Clair College. The 043 of Matt
O'Brien,
Matt O'Brien to the inside of Muhammad Alif. The pace car makes the hard left onto pit road for the final time. Into the restart zone goes Williams and Cummings. Williams is going to hit the gas as the high lane stacks up behind them, and we're overtime racing here at Kansas.
Williams will lead them in the turn 1. Tim Moore and Jake Cummings right now second and third. Matt O'Brien with a really good run on the inside. 3 wide behind them. It's going to fan out the 4 wide behind them. They're wrecking. Cummings in the wall. He's trying to keep it forward. No flag yet. Here they still go through 3 and 4. Drew Williams holding on to the lead right now. Matt O'Brien, the lone contender, in second. As they're 4 wide behind them. DeWale on the outside. Alif, Jawad, and Jake Wiest in there. Alif gets a little sideways into Jawad, and they're wrecking across the front stretch. Is that going to bring out the caution? No, it's the white flag. They're going to race to the end here. Williams has Matt O'Brien all over his back bumper as they make their way down the backstretch for the final time.
It's Drew Williams out in front of Matt O'Brien, who's going to lock themselves into the championship 4. They're side by side into the corner. Both of them sideways. Matt O'Brien's up into the wall. Williams is slow. Here comes Tim Moore with a run. They're side by side to the line. It's going to be Tim Moore.
Holy cow, Tim Moore from out of nowhere.
Wow.
Manhattanville College steals it here at Kansas after Matt O'Brien locked it up into 3, made contact with Williams. Williams did a great job to keep that car forward to give himself a chance. But Tim Moore, on the last possible moment, strikes, and Manhattanville College is headed to Miami in 3 weeks' time.
With 250 feet left in the race, the 074 of Tim Moore from Manhattanville College steals the win from the 23 of Williams. He's getting congratulatory bumps from his teammate Matt Morton, and he is going to burn it down on the front stretch. Congratulations, Tim Moore. You are going racing for a championship.
I mean, just what an absolutely wild finish here to kick off the playoffs in the CIL College Cup Series. Kansas has delivered an absolute classic of a finish. My goodness.
I'm shaking, man. That was an amazing finish. Holy cow.
That was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I'm very rarely at a loss for words, but I mean, that was just a staggering finish there. I mean, Tim Moore with the final 2 laps did everything he needed to. It seemed like he was down and out back in third as they hit the final lap there. And then, Matt O'Brien, Drew Williams were hard racing in the 3 and 4. O'Brien wasn't able to get that car turned. Williams caught it but was slow. And, man, just, Tim Moore won a great race at Daytona to kick off the season, and he kicks off the playoffs in the same way by an absolutely stellar finish here at Kansas to kick off the playoffs.
He kept it together when he needed it the most, and he walked away with the win. Tim Moore is going to go to Homestead in his rookie season and race for a CIL College Cup Series championship, as he's going to bring that car down pit road, get into victory lane, and we're going to interview him as he gets out of the car. I think I saw some Penn College Tech cars lined up for a photo op right there, as well as a Polish victory lap here from Tim Moore. Something we haven't seen in the CIL before, I don't think.
It's definitely not often. That's for sure. So nice little Alan Kowicki tribute there from Tim Moore. He'll make his way down the backstretch going the wrong direction. But boy, what a thrilling race there. Man, just a crazy green-white checkered. And, if you told me to pick a name that was going to walk away with the green-white checkered victory, I don't think it was going to be Tim Moore based off of where he lined up. I know he was in the top 3, but, man, what a finish.
We went from potentially not having a playoff qualification tonight to Tim Moore taking the first spot at Homestead. What a finish. That is going to be a race finish that we're going to talk about for a very, very long time here at the CIL. So let's take a look at the finish of this race. We've got the big crash that happened at the white flag. Race control decided to let them race to the line since the track got cleared, and then we're going to take a look once again at the finish as Tim Moore is going to get out of the car, a winner once again here in the CIL, and our first championship 4 driver this season. Trying to get some good angles of that wreck. Yes, so this is coming to the white flag. You can see the 4 wide. Now this incident started with Zach Whale, Muhammad Alif, and Drew Jawa making contact, and Alif spinning up into the 37 car, and it was just everybody involved in that crash behind them. A couple of Ball State cars, Athena LeClaire involved. I think that's the 43 of Sky Shrek, the 34 of Duncan O'Connor also involved in that crash.
Some heavy contact
implications
for a lot
there
of those
too.
Cars. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those cars with some heavy contact. A couple of those playoff drivers as well. But yeah, so few of those cars really got the worst end of it. I mean, that's a tough call. When you're 4 wide here at Kansas, it's tough to really know where you are on track, especially when you have cars down on the apron, cars on track. I mean, that's the tough situational issue to find yourself in. But definitely a tough break there for a lot of those folks. And then here's going into 3 and 4, the last lap moment. You saw O'Brien really tried launching it in, wasn't able to save it, made contact with Williams. Williams did a great job catching it, and then Tim Moore, like a rocket ship, around the outside to bring it home for Manhattanville. Man, what a finish.
And Tim Moore has crawled out of the car. We're going to get him into the booth. Tim Moore of Manhattanville College, congratulations on your second win this season. You are officially going to go race for a championship at Homestead. How does it feel?
Can I dare use the term Mickey Mouse? Because that's what I feel like right now.
No result is ever undeserved, man.
Yeah, we've had a lot of bad luck in the early portions of the season, where I felt like I had a lot of good performances, tracks like Bristol or, oh goodness, I'm trying to think of so many, Nashville, other tracks as well, where it's like, we put ourselves in the right spot and just bad luck caught us late. And today we qualified decent, we qualified 9th, we got ourselves track position, and we put ourselves in a spot there with that caution around 80 to go to, cut it in half, try something. I think it came down with about 35 to go. I'm going to be honest with you. I had nothing for DeWheel. I think he was the best throughout the day. Matt was second, with those tire saving. I just tried to think about points, try to think about the best spot I can put myself in to, set myself up for a championship 4, let alone winning wasn't even on my thought until maybe like 30 to go once I took the lead through the pit cycle. I didn't think I had a chance at all, to be honest with you. So again, I'm lucky. I feel bad for Drew because, I mean, his 2-tire strategy there would have worked out and looked like he would have had it. Obviously, I can't play Matt either. I mean, he's trying to go for, a Final 4 position, but that's the chaos of these things when you only have 3 races to do it. And I'm just lucky that I was in the right spot, right time. And, there was a lot of wrecking coming to the white flag, but I'm just glad the caution didn't come out, coming to the white, because that definitely put me at least with a chance after a mistake out of 2 where I got loose to ultimately get a lucky victory.
Yeah, I mean, you put yourself in just the right position. You had just enough of a window to make it happen off of 4 there. Congrats on the absolutely thrilling victory. I do want to ask you, now that you're locked into Miami, how does the strategy change come Talladega in Michigan?
So Talladega, I plan probably to approach it about how we did at Daytona, if you guys remember, where, we were trying to control the race, be up in front. Obviously, there's a lot more aggressive competitors. I mean, guys like Clampett, I know he wasn't here tonight, but like guys like Clampett are going to set the tone because they're, the guys that have bad points days today are going to try to set the tone because they're going to need good points days or a win to maybe get the Final 4. So I truly think this, Dega we're going to be aggressive. We're going to try to finish as great as we can to keep momentum. But Homestead has not been a good track for me. I'm going to be truthfully honest. It has not been one of my better tracks I can go to. I love ripping the high side here at Kansas. I just have not correlated well at Homestead. So I'm going to take these 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, to mentally prepare and prepare myself on the track to be as good as I can for the championship, because it is one of my weaker tracks. And I think it's a point of emphasis that I've got to get better at tire saving and other things, because I was not good at it today, to be truthfully honest with you, to put myself in a position to potentially win a championship this year.
Well, Tim, we saw the pass with literally less than 250 feet to go in the race. What was it like from your vantage point to see O'Brien and Williams make contact in the turn? And then did you see you had the run coming? Did it even go through your head that you had a shot to win the race?
To be honest with you, I thought I was only going to have second, but Drew was just full blown drifting out of 4, and credit to him to save it and still get second. I knew that when O'Brien went the 3, he said it over the radio when we were down the back. He goes, "You know what's coming." That's what he told Drew. "You know what's coming. God bless you." And he just clipped him in the left rear. He said he locked up at least. I couldn't see, but all I saw was smoke, and knew once I missed one, I had maybe a chance. And I mean, once I got to Drew's bumper, it was one or two choices. I had to make a decision. Do I run into the back of him if I go low, knowing that's the lane he's going to protect, or do I try to get to his outside? And ultimately, that's what I did. But I could not believe it. To be honest with you, I think about, real life racing moments where you see guys, oh goodness, you think about Martinsville, obviously you think about the Chastain move, which obviously could not have happened today. But you think of these crazy moments. I'm going to be honest with you. These are one of these moments, not because I won the race, but I will think back in my head of like, wow, I can't believe that we had this crazy of an ending. Because I would say if you wrap up in terms of the finishes this season to a lot of races, I would think it's very fair to say this probably had the most exciting story to the end of it, in regards to so many different guys competing for a Final Four spot in this first race. And I think it tells a story moving forward throughout the rest of this round with Talladega and Michigan, especially.
Yeah, definitely set the precedent, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, congratulations on your win tonight. You are officially the first of the 4 championship 4 drivers. Before we let you go celebrate with your teammate, we saw Matt O'Brien come up to you after the race. Congratulations and congratulate you. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, again, I do want to shout out Zach DeWheel. I felt like he had the best car, and I really do. I was going to race him clean there to the end. I know I got a lap car that was in our way. I don't really remember who it was, but he was just really kind of taking our dirty air, and then he was taking Zach's away. And again, at that point, I was thinking, points. I want to thank my teammates in Ecstasy Sports, Matt L. Morton, who it stinks, man. He had a good performance going, and he sped in the pits. Which stinks to see, because I felt like he would have probably had the best, if not the second best chance, to try to run down the wheel. And I want to thank Drew as well for racing me clean there. He could have put me 4 or 5 wide going into turn 3 after I got loose there in a GWC, but he thought big picture. Unfortunately, he paid for it down the front straightaway. But happy in my next C Sports boys, and I'm real proud to be going to the Final Four. And I want to thank you guys, especially in the booth every week. It's been a lot of fun, to go back and watch these races and do a little bit of learning. And you guys are doing an excellent job. And I'm so thankful again that we have opportunities as graduates, as students, to represent our schools, and that again means so much to me, which is why I truly do love coming to race in this league every Monday.
Always, man. We're happy to have you, and congratulations again. You are racing for a title in 3 weeks' time, and hopefully we'll see you back here in the booth before then.
Hopefully. Let's go. I'm excited. Championship 4, baby.
That was Tim Moore. You can hear the excitement in his voice, just how much this means to him. In his own words, he felt like he didn't deserve this. He called himself the Mickey Mouse win of the playoffs, but he made it happen when he needed it most, and he drove a phenomenal race today, and as a result, he is going to go race for a title.
See, I understand how he could come to that conclusion, but also at the same time, you need to put yourself in a position to be lucky. And that's exactly what he did. He kept himself in the hunt all day, and when it mattered most, he was the car that capitalized. And that wasn't anybody else. It was the 074 that was in position to go and win that race. So I understand that one kind of fell into his lap, but he needed to put himself in position for that to happen, and that's exactly what he did. So I still consider it a very earned victory there for the 074.
Let's go ahead and talk to our runner-up finisher tonight. Drew Williams from Clemson University came within about 200 feet of his first College Cup Series victory. Contact in 3 and 4 ultimately cost you the race with Matt O'Brien. Take us through that contact through your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to dive it in there. That's why I ran kind of the middle. Really expected a late dive there. I thought we were going to door each other off exit, and that'd be it. Did not expect him to go that far from, 2 car lengths back. It's just, it's an embarrassing move. Really disappointed for the whole sport tonight to see just desperate dives like that for the win. But I guess that's what you get with playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly moved, but you were able to save it and bring it back home P2, and it was a close drag race to the end. Was there anything else you could have done there trying to catch it, or was that just, make sure the car was still moving forward and then throttle down?
I took a look at my telemetry, and I'm like 90 degrees right, 90 degrees left, 90 degrees right. That was probably the most impressive save of my career. That spin was crazy. So I'm just thankful that we got it pointed one way, and I was able to get a lot of points tonight. That's really, really the only good outcome here.
Yeah, I was about to say you finished second place, which means you got a massive haul of points to try and, at a minimum, point your way into the Final Four, but still 2 spots on the line. Looking at Talladega next week, what do you think the strategy is going to be to try and find victory lane?
I'm gonna try and follow the Nexus guys. They completely dominated the Daytona race in the season opener, so I'm just gonna try and link up with them and follow them. Have another good points day. I think after this race, I'm in a good shot to try and point into Homestead. So we're just going points racing the next 2 weeks. Obviously, racing for a win isn't meant for us.
Yeah, we can hear the disappointment, but congratulations on another podium here in the College Cup Series. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out here on the show?
Of course, I want to thank Orangeville Racing for coming to race with me every week. I want to thank Nick Stockner for being a great spotter on that last run, and just super unfortunate we couldn't pull it through. But yeah, I want to thank CIO for putting this whole thing on.
And congratulations again, Drew, and hopefully we'll see you back here before Homestead.
Yep, I hope so. Thank you.
Have a good one. That was Drew Williams, our runner-up finisher tonight, just so close to victory lane and a spot in the championship 4. But can't discredit the effort that he put in tonight's race. A phenomenal save coming out of turn 4 after he got knocked sideways after contact with O'Brien. To even bring that car home in the second place is a phenomenal feat.
Yeah, I mean, one hell of a save there coming off of 4, able to keep the hammer down, still bringing home P2. And it wasn't even like it was a long gone to. I mean, he was still right up there until the last split second when Moore crossed the line. So definitely a disappointing one there for Drew Williams. I mean, that one was all but in his grasp and then ends up fading away. So he'll have 2 more chances to try and win his way in. But to his point, I mean, second place points is going to go a long way in getting him into the Final Four.
And let's go ahead and talk to our final podium finisher of the night, Jake Weist from UNC Charlotte. Congratulations on your top 3 finish. On that final restart, you started on about row 3 or 4, or even further back. So with 2 laps to go, did you even think you had a shot at a top 3?
No, not really. I knew that I had good quick run speed, but I knew that some stuff was going to have to fall my way, like with the way some of the crashes did. I think with the last 2 restarts, I went from like 18th to 9th and then 9th to 3rd. So it was a pretty good ending for me.
Yeah, I mean, you were up there a good bit of the front half of the race, and then it seemed like you kind of faded back, not a ton, but just a little bit there in the middle going, but it really came back on late. Was there anything that changed over that middle part of the race to get you back up to the front, or was it just the way kind of things fell with the cautions that found yourself back up in the winning hunt there on the final laps?
Yeah, just the way the cautions fell. cut the first stint early, and then if it would have played out, I think I would have cycled through to the lead for a little bit. But the way the cautions fell, I ended up back in 15th, and I'm not very good on the long run at this track. I just cooked my right front tire, so the way they fell at the end really worked in my favor.
Well, Jake, a big points haul for you tonight as you look forward to Homestead. Talladega next week, Michigan the week after. Do you think you've got a shot at winning one of those two races, or are you taking the Drew Williams strat of just trying to point your way in at this point?
I think I've got a shot to win Talladega. I'm not in the playoffs, so it's no big deal to me.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm gonna miss Homestead anyway, so I'm just here for fun this season, and I think Talladega is probably my best chance, but you never know what can happen at Michigan.
Well, we certainly love to see you back in victory lane at some point this season before you head out for Homestead. But congratulations again on your third place finish. Big points in the student or in the alumni championship as well. P2 overall there. So a lot of good things happened for you this race. So we're gonna let you go celebrate with your UNC Charlotte teammates. But before that, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, sure. I'd just like to say thanks to my Apollo teammates, Tim and Colin. It's really fun hanging out with them. And this week is Jeremy's birthday, and we do miss him dearly. So I just want to say happy birthday to him.
Oh, happy birthday, Jeremy. Well, congratulations again on your overall third place finish. P2 in the alumni as well. And hopefully we'll see you back here in the booth.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too. We pulled Matt O'Brien aside as well. So we're going to talk with Matt Bryan real quick. Matt restarted second there on the restart, had the shot to win the race. We saw the move into turn 3 that I'll quote Drew Williams and say that it was an embarrassment to the sport. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's pretty accurate. I didn't think in a million years that you could lock up on 40% brake bias like that, but it did. As soon as it locked up, it just went straight.
I mean, it did look like the moment that car tried down the I think we saw a bit of a puff of smoke there coming out the back of the car where it just didn't want to make that turn.
No.
Ultimately though, I mean, before that moment, I mean, you had that car tuned up pretty good and we're running inside, top 5, top 7 basically the entire race. Obviously not the ending that you would have hoped for, but is there any sort of positive takeaways from this race going forward to the next 2 rounds knowing that you had speed here at Kansas?
I mean, I don't know. Talladega is just going to be a plate race, and there's not really anything you can take from anywhere. So just show up and try not to get wrecked at that place. And Michigan is that's going to be a wild one too. That you're not going to be able to get away from anybody, and the draft's so strong there. It's going to be pretty wild. So I don't know.
And Matt, you got P9 overall, so some good points for you as you try to get your way into the championship 4. You think you got a shot at getting in?
I would have to see what the points are, but I mean, you always got a shot. I mean, it wasn't a disaster, but probably I could have just taken the second and decided to try something and did probably one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done. So probably should have just took the second there and took the 35 points or whatever it is and moved on to Talladega.
Well, you still brought it home top 10 despite the mistake there at the end of the race. One of the greatest finishes we've seen here in the Cup Series, and it goes to show what a playoff berth can do. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out here on the show?
Yeah. Martin for coming back after speeding. So somehow did that. So
Well, you still got 2 more chances to get your way into Homestead, and even then, there's going to be at least one spot available for points. So hopefully, we'll see you back up here in the booth on the podium by the time we get to Homestead.
All right. Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Have a great evening, man.
Yep.
You can hear the disappointment and the emotion in his voice. He agreed with Williams' statement. Not the smart. He said not the smartest move he's made, that he should have taken the P2. But when you come that close to victory, when you're within a couple tenths with the race win and a shot at Homestead on the line, I mean, what else can you do? You got to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the. To Drew's point, I mean, it was very far back for a dive, but also, I mean, if you could get that car turned around, very different story. It just lucked up on him when he was trying to get it around. But ultimately, yeah, tough break there for Matt O'Brien, and he'll have his work cut out for him at Talladega as well as Michigan here. 2 more chances to get the 043 locked into Miami, but certainly going to be a little tougher to do it on points now.
If the interviews are over, the race is done, and I think that is going to bring up our final standings and our finishing order here from our Flyover State 200. Producer Christian, let's roll. And your winner tonight, and the first driver to lock himself into the championship 4 from Manhattanville College, Tim Moore. Drew Williams comes in second for Clemson University. Third goes to Jacob Wiest from UNC Charlotte. Zach DeWale, after dominating most of the race, will finish 4th for St. Clair College. Tim Robb, card number 5, finishes P5 for American University. Jake Cummings finishes 6th for Wingate University. Jason Wallet, 7th. A good run for that Drexel car. Ohio State's Matt Morton recovered from a speeding penalty late in the race to finish 8th. Matt O'Brien will finish 9th for Michigan Tech after having a shot to win the race in the final corner. And Sky Schreck will finish in the top 10 for the first time this season, their best finish for Oklahoma University.
Yeah, Clint Halterman will rally back to finish 11th today for UNC Charlotte, getting a decent bit of points. Brandon Schulenberger, 12th for Wingate University. 13th will be Matthew Nordberg from NC State. 14th is Athena LeClaire from St. Clair College. Major Monsivice rallies back from that lap 1 contact to finish 15th for Texas A&M International. Lucas Moody in Ball State will bring it home 16th. Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College may finish 17th here today, but that is up from where he qualified. Muhammad Alif will bring it home 18th for Ball State. Drexel's Timothy Wilms will bring it home 19th, and in his CIL debut, Charles Wimbley will bring it home 20th for Guilford.
Drew Jawa finishes P21 for Chattahoochee Tech. Andrew Stagey, P22 for Ball State. Colin Culpa in Indiana University will finish 23rd. Jonathan Egge for Robert Morris will finish 24th. Dylan Godinez and Austin DeLong, a pair of PCT drivers, will finish P25 and 26. Tyler Klingensmith will finish 27th for Robert Morris University. Kelton Quick finishes 28th for Ball State University. St. Clair College's Zarin Bartholomew will finish just ahead of Andrew Burrell and Clemson University after getting caught in that wreck late in the race, P29 and P30.
Yeah, and the remaining members of our grid here finishing 31st this evening. Nick Stockner from Clemson, 23 laps down. And then Spencer Brown from UNC Charlotte. Michael Seidor from the Penn College of Technology. And Tristan LeClaire from St. Clair College, 32nd, 33rd, and 34th, respectively.
Well, the dust has settled here at Kansas from the thunderstorms. The Thunderdome of a race tonight is one of the best finishes we've seen here in College Cup Series history. And Tim Moore and Manhattanville College are going to go racing for a championship at Homestead, Miami. The first of our championship 4 drivers, as we've got 3 more spots to settle out and 2 more races to do it as the playoffs continue next week with the most chaotic race of the season, or what we anticipate to be the most chaotic race of the season, the Alabama 199 from Talladega Super Speedway. The CIL is going to go plate racing again, but this time anybody can win, and our playoff drivers can once again draft their way into a spot at Homestead. So be sure you don't miss any of that action next Monday night here on the CIL Twitch and YouTube channels. The Ignition Zone pre-race show will start at 8:30 Eastern with race coverage beginning at 9. And if you can't wait for more CIL action, Formula C heads to Italy for the first time for our Formulino Memorial Italian Grand Prix, honoring the late track mascot Formulino. Rest in peace. Our Muhammad Alif can clinch the Formula C World Drivers' Championship by scoring points in both sprint races, but the battle for the rest of the top 10 is still anyone's to grab. The season may be winding down, but the action has never been hotter. This Wednesday night at 8:45 Eastern. And I believe that is going to do it for us tonight. So on behalf of myself, co-commentator Alex, producers Christian, Keith, and John, and everybody here at the CIL, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's Flyover State 200. And until next time, stay fast.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.